The City Council meeting on Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Start with a roll call.
Mayor Endicott,
Here.
Mr. Blades,
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Present.
Mr. Heyman,
Present.
Mr. Gorman.
Present.
We have 5 present. We have a quorum.
All right, so next item is the approval of the agenda. I'm going to turn that over to Ron for a change.
Does the council have any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, Martin, I think we have one change. That's item number 9 needs to go in front of item number 4 because we have a consultant on the line.
Yeah, we'll do the bond discussion as the first discussion item. I think we're replacing 9 with 4.
Okay. Now I put that up for a vote.
Motion to approve as amended.
Okay.
Make a
Motion to approve as amended.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Mayor Endicott.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Look, we have the roll call. We don't have to do roll call.
Oh.
Please vote. Push the buttons. Have you got a lesson on that, sir?
Okay.
Nope.
Skip, we got 5 ayes. Motion carries.
There we go. All right, so the next part will be a closed session. We'll have conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, government code, section 54956.9, Anderson v. Core, Lloyd, Kern County Superior Court case number BCV 241019979, and conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, GC section 54956.9, Mojave Pistachios LLC v. Indian Wells Valley Water District et al., Orange County Superior Court case number 3020211187275, CUOR CJC.
Awesome.
So we
Thank you so
adjourn
much.
to closed session. So, welcome to Doing the People's Business. Let's start with our regular session. Do I have someone willing to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Anyone want to volunteer back there in uniform? Thank you very much. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Councilman Rajaratnam, you'll lead us in the invocation.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Lord, as we begin this new year, 2025, I pray for our mayor and city council. Lord, we pray for wisdom, for strength and courage to do the right thing and the good thing for all citizens. Lord, may we put the interest of the citizens above our interest. May we act with goodwill for the common good. I pray that you continue to bless our city. Lord, be with us today as we discuss many items. Let our decisions be beneficial to this community. Lord, pray for each one of us here. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, so we will go to the next item on the agenda, attorney report out of closed session.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mayor, council members, 2 items were taken up by the council in closed session. They're both depicted on the agenda. One pertains to litigation with Mojave Pistachio. The other one, lawsuit by Mr. Anderson against the city. Council took no reportable actions in closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, so next we will go to some presentations, life-saving awards for Officer Coe and Officer Smith. Chief, there we go.
Chief, do you mind if the rest of the council comes down there with you while you present? All right, you guys are willing?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sergeant Hallmark. I was the watch commander on duty for this life-saving event with Officer Coe and Officer Smith. I would like to recognize Officer Coe and Officer Smith for their extraordinary bravery and dedication to saving a life. Their prompt response to a critical situation exemplified the highest standards of heroism and professionalism. On 11/9 of 2024, at approximately 20:59 hours, officers were dispatched to a report of a male subject, approximately 80 years old, becoming non-responsive in his residence. Officer Coe was the first to arrive on scene and immediately began assessing the situation. Officer Coe found the subject to be non-responsive, not breathing, and without a pulse. Without hesitation, he sprang into action, administering CPR with unwavering determination until the fire department arrived on scene. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Officer Smith joined him. Together, they were able to move the subject to a safer location for CPR. Officer Smith then took over CPR, maintaining the life-saving efforts until the medics arrived on scene and took over the CPR from the two officers. Thanks to their swift actions and commitment to saving life, ultimately, the subject regained vital signs and was transported to Ridgecrest Regional Hospital for further treatment. Their exemplary service and selfless courage reflect the finest qualities of law enforcement. I commend them both for their quick thinking and decisive action in a life-threatening situation. Today, we'd like to present Officer Coe and Officer Smith with Officer Coe's second and Officer Smith's fifth life-saving awards. Chief?
Do you want to say anything? So, surprisingly, cops are always short of words. What I'll say on their behalf is they represent the best our department has to offer when it comes to things like this. The community expects us to be out there engaging in not only enforcement activities, but things that benefit the public, like making sure they're trained properly for CPR and other first aid, so we can intervene in situations like this. With the leadership of Sergeant Hallmark and the other supervisors, they're given the tools that they need to be successful, both inside the department, from the council, and from the support of our community. And for that, we're appreciative of the support that you give us. So with that, I congratulate these guys, and we appreciate their service.
Everybody, Chief?
No, sorry. Everybody? Whatever you want. It's too big.
And the council. Officers, don't walk away. We're going to do a picture with the council. Come on up here. In the middle, up here. Pictures.
Pretty fellow since you have a radio voice.
Right.
I do. I was always told I had a face for radio.
Nope. Not important enough.
You guys are up front, we're in the back.
Come on, everybody in there. Act like you like everybody. There we go. Scoot up, everybody. There we go.
So those are fun.
There we go. All right. Did he say 5? That one gentleman, is that 5?
Yes.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So next, we will go to public comment of items not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Council will not respond to any public comments, but may provide direction to staff to collect information pursuant to the Brown Act. The City Council may not act on an item that does not appear on this agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. We can start.
Yeah, my name is Tony Rosa, and I'm here to talk about 313 West Church Avenue. And I have something to give each council member. Sorry for the quality of the picture, but my printer was going out. But anyway, the color. So back in 2018, 2019, I went through the permit process, and I got permits approved to build a house on 313 West Church Avenue. The reason that first picture shows you the location of the electrical meter was at the back of the house. The reason being because the power before was coming from that pole that you see there, was coming from the back of the property. Yeah, at that time that we went through the permit process, from that pole, the neighbor, 311 next door, their power came right across our property, went to their house. Okay, that's picture number 1. Then back in, as you look at picture number 2, on 3/28 of 2024, the electrical was passed. Okay, so we had a release. Okay, we got electrical release. Okay, and so it was approved. So it was submitted to Edison, and that's the 3rd page. The short page shows the request for electrical. Well, about a week, 2 weeks went by. I didn't hear from Edison, and then I contacted them, and then they told me, oh, at Ridgecrest, everything is underground. I said, well, that's fine, but we were approved this way. They sent you the request for electrical. You should just follow it. Oh, no, we're not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And I ran around with them for about a month, trying to them to honor the release. So that didn't work, so I went to the building department, and then the building department told me, oh yeah, there's an ordinance, and that you have to follow. So I requested the ordinance, and took about 3 weeks, and Rick emailed it to me. I read the whole thing, and I didn't see anything that talked about an individual lot from a subdivision in 1945. So I emailed back to Rick and says, hey, I don't see where this section on the ordinance that talks about an individual lot. So then she arranged, so if you read this section, that's page 4, the section they sent me, it says right there on top of the section, it's regarding subdivisions. It's not related to individual lots of a subdivision that was way before the ordinance. So, which didn't make sense to me. So that's why I'm here. And then I like Edison to honor my release so I can move on and finish the project. I've been battling this for almost 8 months. So I like really the conclusion would be to tell Edison, honor what we sent you. And then on the last page, you see the house. Okay, you see the house, and you can see we have because at that time of the permit process, the The driveway, it was a shared driveway with 311. So I had one car driveway approach. So we put the garage, we had to make the garage facing east so it would work with the situation that we had. So, and then if you look, you don't even, in this house, you can even tell if it's underground or above ground because you don't see the electrical riser because it's in the back. And then this picture's right in front of the school. So you can see, you don't see electrical risers. So I like the thing is to be resolved as soon as possible because I've lost already thousands of dollars waiting to get this thing resolved. If anybody has any question, I'm ready to answer.
I have a quick question. So have you addressed the city staff? So you've addressed Travis and Ron Strand already, the city manager?
I met with Ron
Okay.
after because I said I couldn't find it, so Rick had made it was like an informal meeting with Ron. And Ron gave me this section. That's what, they had even squared in. That's what they gave me. And then I didn't read it at that time when I met with him because it was informal. When I wanted to meet with him again, then they said, go to the building party. They wanted to meet with me. And I wanted to say, I'm sorry, but this does not meet my situation. And that's why I wrote, in December, I wrote to the council. I even met with the Skip. And he said he would talk to Ron and stuff. And I got nowhere, so then I decided to write to everybody, send an email to everybody. And then nobody responded, and then I sent it again. And then Solomon responded, and he told me to come here, and so I'm here, and I'm retired. I put my savings into that property, and I'm losing money, and I have I don't know, close to $200,000 tied up. Any other questions?
No other questions. We can talk later.
Yeah.
Somebody will get back to you on this, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for,
Right.
like, legitimately, before you walk away, thank you for bringing it to the attention. I know that this has been something that's trying, so we will look at this and we will get back to you.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the city council, I'll respond to this in my city manager comments.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
My name is Eddie Edwards again, and I'm here tonight as a representative of the Community for Martin Luther King's Community Program on Monday. And this is just a reminder that we'll be at 12 o'clock at Crossroads Community Church, and it's located at 235 North China Lake Boulevard. Fortunately, for next year, thanks to Jake in Parks and Rec, I have the half banquet hall in Kerr McGee Center for this event. So that's good. So hope to see everybody there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Actually, before you go, I have a question, clarifying question. What was it was 12 o'clock was it Crossroads?
Crossroads Community, right.
Okay, thank you.
I'll see you there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Tasha Chandler. Today I am representing Just Serve. Just Serve is a platform for volunteerism that has been operating in Ridgecrest for over 6 years. Volunteers from Just Serve has made a difference in the community, from cleaning up trash, donation and distribution of basic supplies, and support during the July 2019 earthquakes. I would like to propose an opportunity for our city to pursue a very new Just Serve City Award. The recognition would not only elevate our community standing, but also foster a more engaged citizenry. The Just Serve City program, in conjunction with the free Just Serve volunteer platform, links individuals from every walk of life with local service projects. Through the award program, we strive to partner with and recognize cities for their efforts. The Just Serve City Award recognizes cities that prioritize and excel in volunteerism. By pursuing this award, we would adopt Just Serve with its fully supported and sponsored website and mobile app as the platform for volunteer efforts. Recognize individuals for their selfless efforts they are making to bring hope and goodness to others. Make it easier for residents to find and engage in volunteer opportunities every day and in times of crisis. Benefits that Ridgecrest could see from pursuing this award would include encouraging greater positive civic engagement and a stronger sense of community, inspire its residents to become more active participants in their community, enhance the quality of life for all citizens and residents, improve networking and collaboration between city departments, nonprofit organizations, and community groups, and more efficient and impactful community initiatives. Questions?
Yeah, do you guys have like a website or
It
something?
is a website and a mobile app. So the website is justserve.org. It is a global website, and it is run and operated on a local scale. So I am the current Just Serve representative, and we will be getting another Just Serve representative in town as well. I'm supposed to be that person's boss, but only in necessary things. Other question?
I can say, this isn't so much to you, but to the council, that Just Serve has done so much good in this community just since I've been on the council. They have, they're always there to step up if there's a call for action. They do a lot out in the community. I know of that from just speaking to community members. So the value, there's a high value there. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
That's why, have you brought any information to RECA or to the council that we could use to review?
I don't have that today, but I can definitely get that.
I think that would be, yeah, if you
I will
could
send you.
get it to RECA, and then we could maybe discuss this as a later.
I will
item
send
to-
you all of the documents that I do have. It is available online, but I will forward them to you directly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Mike Neal. Been a resident for quite a while in Ridgecrest. Been involved down here for quite a while. It's nice to see the attendance tonight. What many years I've been here, I've rarely seen this many people in the audience. So I don't know what's changed. I hope it continues on. Public participation is actually an essential part of this whole thing. Just having 5 guys make all the decisions without input is limited at best. So a couple things I want to talk about tonight involves what you might call the intangibles of government, which relate to basic freedoms. And in particular, the freedom of the citizenry to the right of privacy, the right to be free from not being surveilled almost 24 hours a day. And you might guess, but I'm going to talk about the Placer AI software, which was purchased and put into enactment last year, or maybe the year before, I forget. But anyway, that software, as you well know, has been stated to be well used. It doesn't violate your right to privacy because you don't have a right to privacy when you're out in public. And this applies to the flock system, but it also applies to the Placer AI because it tracks your metadata. And it's real simple to boil it down to when you have the metadata, you have the man or you have the woman. Track that data far enough and you know exactly who you're looking at. You can track their lifestyle patterns down, boil it down to a point to where it's not just an entity, supposedly, which is claimed by the software provider, but it's a person. I object to that in the strongest possible fashion. I did so before it was purchased and put into, enactment, and I think it needs to be ceased. We do not need to be tracked, collated, separated out into all the various categories simply for no better reason than for the city managers and staff, possibly council members, to sit down and say, well, how many people did we have at our last city party? How many people did we have at this event or that event? I mean, that is the poorest possible reason that I could dream up to say, oh, it's okay to surveil your citizens. And along the lines of surveilling, we have the flock camera system, which is soon to be in locations all around the streets of Ridgecrest, and I think it's about 24 locations. They may have even bumped it up. Now, You could say again, well, you have no right to privacy. Well, I've already stated before the system was purchased, you have no right to privacy, but if I was to come behind you, either on foot or in my vehicle, and follow you around for even 1 hour with my cell phone camera on you continuously, I have no doubt I'd be talking to a police officer before too long, and they'd be called stalking. Well, we are being electronically stalked, but the flock camera system, every time, single time we pass one of those, our video picture is taken, recorded, put in the system, and the next camera, and the next camera, and the next camera, rolling on a rolling data basis for 30 days at a time. That means pretty much everybody in Ridgecrest is going to be re-recorded into that system at least every few days. A few people stay in their house and don't go anywhere for 5 days at a time unless you're ill or whatever, can't get out. We don't need that to contain the citizens in this town. We have contained the citizens. This town is well known to be a town with a low crime rate. I fail to see the problem being of such magnitude that we need to violate the citizens' right from not being photographed, videoed all the time, every time they're out on the street, driving their car. And you can also look forward to the day when the new AI with the flock system will not just flag vehicles, it will recognize people, it will flag you for other violations, and you're going to be walking around looking over your shoulder, wondering, when did you pass that camera? Did I do something wrong? That's just wrong, and I strongly object to that. Thank you.
Actually, hey, please don't leave. I have clarifying remarks, actually, on that one.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm not going to touch on Flock, but I will cover Placer. Obviously, that was an issue that was vital to me. It got me to run for this position. So the issue with that is it's not illegal, right? And so if you, like myself, find that to be a problem, I advocate for you to reach out to our federal representatives, because at the federal level, that's where we'll actually make a difference. We need to get some type of legislation covering digital privacy on the books, in law, codified, in order to protect us, because until that happens, we're not going to have, because there's no rules, right? It's the wild, wild west of digital privacy right now, where people have access to it. I have my qualms with Placer AI, and I will talk about those later, but my point here is that if you do find it problematic, I would reach out to our representatives, both state and federal, and advocate for change.
Might I add that the best place to address abuses of citizens' privacy is right here in the council. You can deal with it if 3 of you decide, we don't want this, we don't want any more to do with it, this is not right, this is not what our citizens want, they feel intruded upon, you can stop it. That's all it takes. We don't go into the feds and getting a bill changed way harder than changing it right here.
I agree with you, but the problem is the data collection will continue at a federal and state level and in the city, whether or not we're paying the money for Placer AI. I am completely against funding it, okay? I mean, I've made that point clear through my campaign, but yes, we can stop it here. That data is still being collected.
Well, yeah, it's a multifaceted, I grant you that. We can put an in-town stop to it, and we can continue the fight on up at the other levels, which, most of us who like our privacy, we're probably already doing that to some degree, and we're going to have to keep doing it because the push for the AI to intrude in our lives is just going to be non-ending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shocked me. Joe Shermer. I want to actually agree with him about the camera system. From what I've understood, and you guys can clarify for me, that those are only used when an incident number is created. So an incident happens on southeast side of town. All the cameras on the other side are going. When does the recording stop? That's the big question. Because I wouldn't mind, like his example, someone following me around for an hour with the camera. I don't want that. I'm a 15-year vet in law enforcement before I retired out of it. I got recorded all the time, but that's part of the job. Now I'm on my personal time. So an incident that happens on this side of town activates all the cameras. Incident numbers, because I've created tens of thousands of them, don't have ends. Okay, you can keep them going forever. So from my understanding is they're only going to be recording during an incident. Well, this incident leads into this incident, leads into this incident, and unfortunately, crime is real. I get it. But we need to start protecting our own privacy. And regarding the AI, I don't know how it got approved because I work on base now and it sits right outside. That is a little ridiculous because data can be stolen, data can be breached, and now what is it going to give our enemies home and abroad? Everybody that works on base, everybody that has access to our nation's secrets. These are things that need to be addressed. Again, on the federal level, I agree. You tell me who to write to, I'm going to write to them. But we need to put a stop to this stuff because we don't need to invite Big Brother into our pocket voluntarily. They're already there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment? I do want to say I love this. This is the most that I've seen people comment. This is fantastic.
Good evening. My name is Katie, and I'm here to ask if you will enforce SB 54, California Values Act. I would also like you to consider signing a policy that prevents local law enforcement from reporting the immigration status of individuals unless it relates to a serious crime investigation. California is a sanctuary state, and we want to ensure that our city is prepared to support the California Values Act. I know firsthand what it's like for a child to go through the trauma of having our families separated. In the early 90s, my family was separated because of the discriminatory actions of public servants toward my father. This past year, I got to attend different community events and enjoyed some of the awesome resources and programs that are available to our community. I couldn't help but notice the absence of our Spanish-speaking community. I am a Latina. However, I speak English, and I can communicate well with our English-speaking community. And I recognize that there are many other Latinos in this community that are proficient in the English language too. One day I volunteered at Fowler and noticed the large population of English-learning students and wondered why I didn't see their families at the library or other fun events at our city. Recently, I started a parents group on Facebook called Padres de Ridgecrest to try to encourage the Spanish-speaking part of the community to come out and participate in all of the wonderful things Ridgecrest has to offer. In light of the immigration raids that have been happening in Kern County, a lot of the parents have been reaching out to me through the Facebook group and asking what is going to happen in our community. Are they in danger? Are their families going to be separated? And they also started sending me messages with health emergencies, others dealing with bullying, discrimination, and even racist comments and remarks from our own teachers in our schools, our own students in our schools, bullying and being racist to our other students that are in our schools. These parents felt comfortable to unburden themselves with me and share some very heartbreaking stories. I even offered solutions. I offered to help them write out emails to the proper people, and they don't feel worthy of using their voices and speaking up about these things that are happening to their kids. They told me things like, let God handle it. I already told my kids that we can't change people's hearts. God knows everyone's hearts, and they prefer to just turn the other cheek. I say all this so you may understand why I am here to ask you to make it clear with our community on where our city council stands. We are not against Homeland Security taking people that have committed a serious crime. We just want peace of mind so our families can comfortably send their kids to school, go grocery shopping, and carry on with their day-to-day lives without being afraid of an ICE raid happening in Ridgecrest and separating their families. I also have printed out some screenshots of the comments that some of our community members here in Ridgecrest have said, and they are not very good. So I wanted to share this with you guys so that you can, see how serious this is, because this is a threat to our families, and it's very important.
So I have a clarifying question.
Yes.
It's Katie?
Yes.
Okay. You said SB 54?
SB 54,
Okay.
the California Values Act, yes.
Okay. That'll give me something to read tonight, so I
Yes,
appreciate
it's already in place, so we just need to know that our community is safe and that our council is going to support that by signing a policy to say, yes, we are here with you guys, and we're only going to investigate serious crimes, because like one of our fellow members said here, we have low crime, so we shouldn't be seeing the ICE patrol anywhere around here, really. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on the floor? All right, see, we have some, oh, you do? Okay. You're good.
My name, is Charles Williams, and I'm speaking on behalf of what Katie just spoke on. It was in reference to the California acts of SB 54, and I'm here tonight to highlight the importance of the California Values Act of SB 54. And I'm also here to ask the City Council to reaffirm its commitment to enforcing this vital legislation by signing a policy. SB 54 ensures that local policies prioritize safety, trust, and inclusion for all residents. It provides protections that allow individuals to access essential services such as medical care and education without fear or hesitation, fostering a community where everyone can thrive. This act also draws a clear line regarding criminal activity. SB 54 explicitly states that serious offenders are not shielded by its provisions, ensuring that accountability is maintained for those who commit crimes. We are in agreement with these parameters and recognize the balance it strikes between upholding public safety and building trust within our communities. The Act's intent is to protect individuals who contribute to our society while still addressing criminal behavior as outlined by the law. The California Values Act reflects the values of fairness and equality that our city holds dear. It strengthens public safety by fostering trust between local government and the communities it serves. When residents feel confidence engaging with local institutions, reporting crimes, and seeking assistance, our neighborhoods become safer and more cohesive for everyone. Parents in our cities work hard to provide for their families and deserve the assurance that they can focus on their work and loved ones without unnecessary concerns. Schools should remain places of learning and development for children, free from distractions or uncertainty about their safety. By upholding SB 54, we ensure that these priorities remain central to our city's policies. And I also ask that this council to actively uphold the principles of SB 54 and ensure that its protections and provisions are fully enforced. This commitment reinforces our values and ensures our city remains a place where all residents feel secure and supported. Together, we can build a stronger, safer, and more inclusive community for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so is there any other comments on the floor? Then we have a caller. Caller, go ahead.
Hello, this is Ronald Porter.
Hello. You can begin.
All right, thank you. My first thing that I want to say is about the agenda. And on the closed session agenda, it identified a case number, and it needs to identify, since there's a case number, go ahead and needs a subject matter with it, what kind of case has been filed. Under the Brown Act, because you have to be fully informed and not have to hunt that deeply. The second thing I want to address is I object to Kyle Blades sitting there because he was not lawfully elected. But I also want to talk with Mike Neal and with the Pacer AI, those and that other gentleman, those cameras record 24/7. And it goes in on a server, and anyone knows one thing. Once it's on the server, it stays there. They claim they're deleted, and they claim they don't share them, but you can't trust that to be true. The people need to understand that it is important to look at that. The new mayor addressed it when it needs to be addressed in other areas, which is true. We're being spied on every time we turn around, and it's something that we all need to pay attention to every day. Thank you.
If you're still, is he still on there? Okay. All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, we will move on to council announcements and direction. Okay. Councilman Plain.
No, so Ron, you were going to address Mr. Rosa?
Correct.
Or do you want to do that during your comments, or did Travis already talk to him?
I'll do that during my city manager comment. I'll give you just a briefing of what's happened up to date, but I do know that that Martin went out and spoke to him and talked to him briefly before he left.
Okay, I think that's good.
Councilman Rajaratnam.
None.
None here.
I have one. Recently, I had occasion to saunter into our local firehouse over by the museums. On a lark, the door was open. I walked in and asked whatever fireman got eye contact with me, have we got a unit and some firemen down south and fighting the Los Angeles fires? And what a wonderful question that turned out to be, because he lit up like the angel on top of the Christmas tree and said proudly, yes, we do. Engine 84 and a strike team from Ridgecrest is down there fighting the fires right now. It occurred to me a lot of people didn't know that. And I felt great about that we're, at least to this extent, are participating in the tragedy that's happening down south. So I have a message to some of our it's tough being 80 years old. The words just don't come. Societies like Rotary and others, if you want good speakers, let's, when the smoke clears and the fire's out and this engine and its strike team come back, invite them in for a session where they can report on their adventures and their activities, and we can all listen and learn. That was what I had to say. Thank you.
All right, so I wanted to point out that, now I need to find the email because I had just forgotten. Yeah, we have some fantastic members of our city. Specifically, I want to point out that next month, February 15th, 2025, at the Kerr-McGee Center, there is a How to Be Happy event happening where our youth we'll be able to talk through mental health issues. Mental health is a big concern for me. I was able to talk with Jim Suver recently on how we can do more to help destigmatize talking about when we're not feeling that great, because having people there to help talk helps. And so I'm happy on that day. We're going to have some of our youth being able to reach out, see that there are people out there that care about them. And if you can help, or if you are a child or you have children that want to attend, I doubt there's many children watching this. But if you have a child that is struggling, February 15th, or just have them reach out to somebody, the school counselor, something like that. So that's what I wanted to say with my time. But next we have,
I just want to add a quick comment, kind of piggybacking off of Councilman Gorman on the local firefighters going down and helping out in those fires. And I know that a lot of the high voltage line and utilities have been damaged too, and that we've got, men and women from Ridgecrest that are with Edison that are down there helping to restore power and help those folks down there. So my hat's off, and I thank these individuals for, they're here helping their own community and serving and putting their lives on the line, but, they're willing to go down and help other individuals in a time of need, and it's a real important aspect of a stable community. So anyway, that's it.
no, again, and I'm sure for Councilman Blades and Councilman Rajaratnam, we also extend our thanks for the selflessness of emergency personnel to step up when other people don't or won't. So is there any public comment about the items that we've just covered right now? Seeing none, move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. I will now read the 3 consent items. A resolution of the Ridgecrest City Council approving the reestablishment of an accounting supervisor position to the classification plan. Number 2, proposed approval for the authorization of the extension of the University of California, Davis School of Veterinary Medicine spay-neuter grant. Number 3, proposed approval of increased appropriations to the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget to purchase police equipment. Does any member of the council wish to have an item pulled? No? Seeing none? Does any member of the public wish to have an item pulled? Seeing none?
Mayor, before you go on to ask for a vote, I wanted to let you know that on the resolution for the extension of the grant, there was a wrong date in the first therefore. It was listed as 2024 and it should be 2025. So I'm just going to clean that up. So I just wanted to let you know before you go on.
Okay.
So you can call for a vote.
All right. Is it a motion?
Yeah, call for a motion.
Call for a motion for vote.
I make a motion with that proposed amendment.
I'll second.
Okay, please vote. 5 ayes, motion carries. Thank you.
All right. So next, we'll move on to the discussion and action items.
Yes, and we're going to do number 9 first.
Okay. Correct. So, discussion number 9, approving the form and authorizing the execution of certain lease financing documents in connection with the offering and sale of certificates of participation relating thereto, finance the cost of construction and equipping a new aquatics facility, and authorizing and directing certain actions with respect thereto.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We're at that point in the development of the Sergeant Pinney Pool Complex where we're about 100% design of the facility. We're back at the second review through Wildan. So we're really close to being able to put this project out to bid, which brings us here tonight to seek approval and authorization to issue up to $16 million in bonds to construct this new complex. I have with me tonight our bond financing team, consisting of Bud Levine and Bob Packkrantz of Wolf Hansen, and then Todd Smith from Hilltop Securities, and then Brian Quint from Stradling Law Firm. I'll have Bud make the presentation, kind of outline what the bond process is, this lease back, what it actually does, why it's important for public financing, and then we'll open it up to any questions from there. So Bud, if you want to go ahead and begin the presentation, I'll see if I can get the slide going here for you real quick.
Great. Okay, thank you, Ron. Well, we're here, as Ron said, to seek approval of, to issue the bonds to provide the financing for the facility. I'm going to have Rob Pankratz of our office. We're Wolf Hansen. I'm Bud Levine. We've been your financial advisor since 2016. We did the pension obligation bonds and the successor agency bonds that were done several years ago to a good benefit of the city. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rob to walk you through the presentation.
All right, thank you, Bud. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. As Bud said, I'm Rob Pankratz, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the financing for the Sergeant Pinney Aquatics Center. So starting on slide 2, there's a resolution before you tonight to approve the financing for this project. And as part of this resolution, we're really asking for 3 things. First, the resolution will authorize the financing for the project, which will take the forms of certificates of participation subject to certain not to exceed provisions in the resolution relating to the maximum par amount, the term, and the true interest cost. Additionally, with this resolution, we're asking you to approve the form of the financing documents that are shown on slide 2. Those documents include the site and facility lease, the lease agreement, the trust agreement, the debt service, reserve agreement, the continuing disclosure certificate, the certificate purchase agreement, and the preliminary official statement. Copies of all of these documents were included in the agenda packet. Just a brief note on each of these to sort of explain what they are. The site and facility lease is an agreement between the counterparty and the city, where the city facilities that are used as the leased asset for this transaction will be leased from the counterparty back to the city. Additionally, there's a lease agreement where those original facilities are leased from the city to the counterparty so that they can be released back to the city under the site and facility lease. I have a diagram in a few slides that will explain that concept a little bit more clearly. The next document we're asking you to approve is the trust agreement. This is the agreement between the city and the bond trustee. The fourth agreement on the list is the debt service reserve agreement. This is an agreement between the city and the bond insurer for the transaction. There's also a continuing disclosure certificate, which is the city agreeing to make ongoing financial disclosures to bondholders in the municipal bond market in general. There's a certificate purchase agreement, which is the agreement between the city and the underwriter for the underwriter to purchase the bonds. And then lastly, there's a preliminary official statement, which is the disclosure document or the selling document that's sent out to all prospective investors so that they can evaluate the financing and potentially become an investor in this project. Lastly, the third thing this resolution approves is it authorizes the city manager, the finance director, the city clerk, the mayor, and the vice mayor to take any actions that are needed to finalize the financing, including the execution of the above listed documents. If we could jump to slide 3, that would be great. Thank you. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the financing structure. So for the Sergeant Pinney Aquatics Center, this financing will be structured as a lease financing. and the lease financing will take the form of certificates of participation, otherwise known as COPs. Lease financings are a very common financing structure for California municipalities for many reasons. One popular one is that an election and voter approval is not required to issue lease financing. The city has issued a lease financing in the form of a COP as recently as 2018. In 2018, it issued a COP to fund its CalPERS pension liability, and that COP was originally issued in the par amount of just under $20 million. So it's a financing concept that the city has used before. Next slide, please. Thank you. So COPs require the use of a city-owned asset to act as the leased asset in the lease-leaseback transaction. So an asset is used that's owned by the city. It's leased to a counterparty under the lease agreement, and then the counterparty leases that facility back to the city in exchange for lease payments. Those lease payments are immediately assigned to the bond trustee that makes the debt service payments on the financing, and at that point the role of the counterparty in the transaction is complete and they go away. It's the counterparty is really just needed to effectuate the use of lease financing, so they really only have a role in the transaction for a very minor period of time. Once all documents are executed, they go away. In 2018, when the city issued its COP to fund its pension liability, it used its Civic Center complex as the leased asset in that transaction. As it stands, there's currently sufficient unencumbered value in the Civic Center complex that the 2025 COP can use this same asset to facilitate the lease financing without having to find a new big asset to use for this purpose. If the financing is totally funded with the proceeds of certificates and a general fund contribution of some amount is not made for the project, other minor city assets might need to be tacked on so that the insured value of those assets does exceed the par amount of all of the bonds, both the 2025 certificates and the 2018 certificates, but that would be a minor asset with a limited value just to sort of get us over the finish line. If the city does contribute funds to this project from its general fund, that is likely not necessary, depending really just on where the numbers fall at that time. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a sort of flow chart that tries to explain the concept of how lease financings work. It's really broken into three categories, which are tracked by the multicolored arrows. The first category, which is shown with the red arrows, is the flow of documents. And so this is sort of the legal structure of how a lease financing works. So starting with 1 and moving towards 4, the city will enter into a site lease with the counterparty. That site lease will be for the leased asset, the Civic Center complex. That's red arrows number 1 and 2. Then under red arrows number 3 and 4, the counterparty, the group that's listed as the corporation on this chart, will then lease that leased asset, the Civic Center complex, back to the city under a site and facility lease. In exchange for the corporation leasing the leased asset back to the city under the leaseback, the city will make lease payments, and that's where we start the green arrows, which represent the flow of payments. So the city will make lease payments to the corporation or the counterparty. Those payments will be assigned to the bond trustee. Those lease payments will be assigned. That's green arrows 2 and 3. And then under green arrows 4 and 5, the trustee will use those lease payments to make debt service payments on the 2025 certificates of participation. And that's how the payments flow. The last category shown on this flow chart is the flow of investment capital, and that's represented by the blue arrows. So the certificate holders, the bond investors, marked as investors on this flow chart under blue arrow 1, will make a purchase of the certificates as part of their for their investment. Those certificate proceeds, shown on this chart as lease proceeds, will flow to the corporation, but then be assigned to the city in return for the city under the original lease, leasing the Civic Center complex to the counterparty. And then those lease proceeds or investment proceeds are then available for the city to spend on its aquatic center project. And so that's the structure of a lease financing, and that's essentially how that works. Can we move to slide 6, please? Thank you. On this slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the sources and uses for the financing and talk about some summary statistics. So if the financing does not contain a general fund contribution, it's anticipated that there will be just over $13.1 million in bonds issued. In addition to the par amount of bonds, the financing is anticipated to generate a premium of just over $1.1 million. Together, the par amount and the premium will make up the total sources of funds in the amount of approximately $14,368,000, and that'll be the total sources of funds for the financing. Those funds are then broken out into the uses that you see below the blue line. The first use is the project fund or the construction fund. Without a general fund contribution, that'll be funded in the full estimated amount of the project at $14 million. And then the remaining $368,000 will be paid out in the 4 below line items. The bond insurance premium and the surety debt service reserve fund are the first 2 line items shown. Those are insurance premiums for insurance products that will be applied to the bonds. Those will give the bonds a credit enhancement and allow them to be sold at a lower interest rate, ultimately reducing the total cost of borrowing for the city. Below the 2 insurance products are the cost of issuance and the underwriter's discount. These are the financing charges, the professional fees for everyone involved in making this financing a reality. On the right-hand side, we show some summary statistics. The funding date specifically is a little bit out of date. The schedule has changed a little bit. The slideshow shows a funding date of February 6th. We're now targeting a closing date of February 27th, 2025. The bonds are anticipated to have a final maturity of June 1st of 2034. That's a 9.5-year term for the financing. And at the time that this presentation was put together, the true interest cost was estimated to be 3.12%, with the all-in true interest cost estimated at 3.61%. Next slide, please. On slide 7, we show the estimated interest rates and debt service for the financing, assuming a 100% financed project. Going from left to right, at first we show the coupon rate of 5%. That is the interest rate paid to the investor for the bonds. Moving towards the right, we have the yield. That is the cost of the financing to the city. The difference between the coupon and the yield for each maturity is what generates the premium, which was the second source of funds I referenced on the following slide. The yields range from 2.82% to 3.19%, depending on the term for that specific bond. On the far right-hand side in the green, we show the estimated debt service on an annual basis and on a total basis. Debt service has been structured to produce level debt service each year with annual payments of approximately $1,655,000, again assuming a 100% financed project. The total estimated debt service is approximately $16.5 million. As shown in Exhibit A of the resolution, we've provided slightly more updated good faith financing estimates, but they generally track to the estimate shown on this page. One more slide, please. So here we show the next steps for closing the financing. Again, these dates are a little bit stale, so I'll give the updated dates when talking about this slide. So assuming that this transaction is approved tonight, our next step will be to post the preliminary official statement, that's the selling and disclosure document, for review by all of the prospective investors in this offering. We will then have a approximately 1 week marketing period where Hilltop Securities will market the bonds to its wide group of investors. After the marketing period's over, there will be a pre-pricing that's scheduled for February 12th, and then a final pricing that's scheduled for February 13th. Thereafter, there's a short period to close the financing, and we anticipate closing on February 27th, at which time the proceeds for the financing will be available for the city to use for its exciting Sergeant Pinney Aquatics Center project. Before I open up for questions, is there anyone else on the financing team that's here tonight that wants to say a few things? I'm seeing some shaking heads. So with that, we'll open it to questions. Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I hope we'll get to, it looks like there was a difference between the bond cost on what presented here on the Excel spreadsheet when it was in the slides.
Yeah, once we're done with the presentation, I'll go over the slide or the spreadsheets, kind of give you staff's perspective on which way we think we're gonna move forward if the bonds are issued, and yeah, how we'll make this whole bond refinance and debt service fit within Measure P.
So we are, oh, sorry. Okay. We are looking at 14 million at this time, or?
Actually, we anticipate the full purchase price of the pools is going to be somewhere around 17 million.
Okay.
Once we get through the process of asking questions on the bond, I can, if you want now, I can go over the spreadsheet and kind of give you some assumption of numbers that we have, what we think the debt service will be, the impound numbers will be. If you want me to do that now, we can move forward there, and then we can follow
Sure,
up. Okay.
yeah.
So what I believe staff is settling on is a $6 million down payment on this project. Now, if you look at the top revenue numbers, we have adjusted those numbers to fit a little bit more of reality of what we feel Measure P is going to be moving forward here in the next couple of years. When P passed, we anticipated, or we revealed to the voters that we thought it was going to be 6.4 million because that's what we had collected in Measure V the year before. However, these numbers reflect a little bit of less revenue due to the winding down of the rebuild of the base. A lot of the numbers that we'd seen in a year previous, couple years previous, dealt with some sales tax collection on some contractors that were using our zip code to purchase other materials for the rebuild. This also reflects a significant amount of vehicle fuel purchased for the 1,200 people that were here. So that top line number we feel is a very conservative number to budget on. As you see, this goes across, this includes all of the current expenditures and budget for Measure P over the 10-year period of time that P will be in place. Actually, P is a 9-year. So if you look, going across on the fire contract, those are all estimates. Some of those are contractual. We anticipated continued increase in costs in the fire contract in the out years for renegotiation. If you look down, on the pool, on the bond payment, we're looking at approximately $1.1 million payment per year. However, when you're looking at this being a 9.5, 10-year bond, we're looking at having 7 years to pay it off, so we have to impound funds to be able to make those final 3 payments, and so you're looking at an impound of about $500,000 per year, which puts the total payment or debit from Measure P at about $1.6 million a year. We've also, in these assumptions, showed an increase in recruitment and retention in year 4 for FY26, and another increase in year 7, and a final increase in year 9. And so what that does is we go across, if you look at the reserve amount at the bottom, we currently have about $6 million in Measure P reserve, and that's what we plan on using for the down payment. And if you look at the reserve amount as we go across in the out years, it does show that we do have surplus leading up to year 9. Now, year 10 is actually a year after we would have to renew Measure P. So if we get to year 10, we have other problems because now we have the same fire contract issue, and we have, a pool that we're now doing the O&M on. And so we put that assumption in there is that if Measure P does not pass, obviously, we have, an issue with that final year, we'd have to go into reserves. So if you look down at the bottom on our general fund reserves, you can see as we go across, we currently have about 15 million in unassigned general fund reserves. With the $6 million down payment, we would retain that. Now, what we're currently doing with a majority of that reserve is we're putting it into T-bonds. And right now, the interest rate, I think, here this last week is, 4.5, maybe 4.7%. So we would be keeping that reserve amount in those T-bills and then collecting that other interest. And so we feel this is the best way to structure this. All the numbers we have in here are conservative. The O&M for the pool, we currently have at about $450,000, growing to almost $500,000 by year 10. That is what would be our subsidy. That would be what we would have to pay out of pocket after, costs. After this wouldn't include revenue. So we feel this is a very conservative, good approach to go. I can show you what a $3 million down payment would do. If you look at the out years, we're looking at not having, very much. I think this chart is not correct here, Kelly. Oops. Yeah, I don't think these reserve numbers for the year 3 are correct. The reserve amount. But if you go across the revenue, under expenditure, you can see on the 3 million that we're in the negative in year 6 of 138,000, going all the way to 108 in year 9, and then 2.4 in year 10. So this is not really the optimum to be able to have the sufficient cash flow on these conservative numbers. And a $9 million down payment does give us the ability to invest that extra $3 million, or actually the full $9 million in T-bonds, but it does take our unassigned general fund down to about $12 million. So it gets us just a little bit lower. So our intent would be to move with the $6 million down payment and just keep it a Measure P. Do you have any questions on this at all?
So you presented 3 scenarios, Mr. Strand. So which one do you prefer?
I prefer the $6 million down payment because it uses only Measure P funds that we currently have in reserve. It keeps our unassigned general fund at approximately 15 million.
Okay.
It keeps us above that 50% general fund ratio of reserves to expenditures.
And the term of the bond would be 7 years or 9 years?
It'll be 9.5 years, but what the whole plan is under the current Measure P to pay off the capital expenses of the pool. So if Measure P continues in out years, then that capital funding can be used for other capital projects. If the public decides to move forward with Measure P, another version of it down the road, then we would have that money that we currently have debt service for the pool would then be paid off. And then if Measure P continued, we'd have, that funding, for other capital projects if Measure P continues. But this does put us in a very conservative position.
So Measure P ends in March 32, I think, right?
Correct, but the odd thing about Measure P is it's a 9-year sales tax, but we'd have to renew it in year 8 because of the way.
So as of now, we'll be ending in March 32.
Right.
So if we do the bond for 10 years, then we don't know how we are going to pay for the next 3 years if Measure P doesn't pass.
No, we do, because if you look on the chart underneath the pool bond payment, we have a pool impound payment. So we would be actually paying 1.1 million, but we'd be collecting and setting aside $500,000. So we would have in our structured as we pay along the money to make those last 3 payments. And I do believe that we're having a 5-year payoff on this. So at the end of Measure P, we would just take the money we had at year 5, and if we had sufficient cash, we could just pay off the bond. So we're hoping to make this this is structured to have the pool fully paid for before Measure P ends.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not anticipating paying any more capital payments on a new P. This is all self-contained in this tax that we currently have.
Excellent. So the interest rate, are we fixed on that? I mean, it depends on the market. So what are we looking at approximately right now?
I'll leave that up to Bud. I think they have the latest numbers, but I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, Todd, you want to go over that, as the underwriter,
Yes. Sure, thank you, Bud. And good evening, everyone, Mayor and City Council. We had our PPI came out this morning, which was well accepted in the market and well accepted for the bond market. So we've had a bit of a rally. We had some bonds priced today here at Hilltop as well that had a very good participation in them. So, but interest rates have been ticking up a little bit since we last ran these numbers, as well as the good faith estimates. I want to say right now, as well as our bond insurance premium that we've been assuming, we got our insurance premium numbers in today. So they came in slightly higher at 60 basis points. Which has put the average cost, the total all-inclusive cost of the financing up a little bit. So we're showing right now in today's market numbers about 3.76% in total AIC costs. And I think, Rob, on your previous slides, we were showing right around
3.61.
3.61, yeah. So we're just a little bit higher.
Thank you.
And that's just a function of the market changes to rates. And the Fed, just to maybe finish that off, the indications for the Fed for the upcoming meeting is that we're not going to have any decreases in rates. And for the next 2 meetings, I believe the forecast on the dot plotter for the Fed is 30% chance of cuts, rate cuts. So the market has basically said, hey, we think the economy is a little hotter than, and the Fed is concerned the economy is a little bit hotter. So they think rates are going to be slightly higher for a slightly longer period of time. And that's what we're seeing.
And the security for the COP is City Hall and Carnegie Center. Is that right? Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Yeah, that's all I have right now.
Thanks. If you could, yeah, we'll just go back now that you went over the spreadsheet. I think the 6 million, excuse me, the 6 million down payment option seems most in line with what we promised the public and how Measure P was passed. And I guess it's always important to reach back and remember that on the grand scale, it wasn't that long ago that the city was in dire straits when it came to its reserve. The city was not doing very well. There was almost no reserve, and the current staff, once that changed, we now have a healthy reserve where it should be. So now we're sitting healthy. So I think that we don't probably drawing that down doesn't make sense. Sitting in the $6 million option makes it tracks with how we expressed to the public we wanted to see Measure P expended.
I wish that I had good questions to ask. I took ag econ in college, and so if it's not corn or pigs, I don't know if I know much, but.
Well, the ultimate goal is we made promises for Measure P, and to structure the financing of the pool to meet those needs without going into the red. To
So
try
we are
and-
not sure about the amount at this time because we don't have bids for the pool yet, right?
Correct. That's why these are just estimates.
Estimates, okay.
Yeah, these are just estimates. I mean, I know this, we're hoping to get the pool. We are hoping to get this out to bid so we can get a number. I know we might have some value engineering we have to do when we get the bids back and, maybe cut a little bit here, cut a little bit there, but we won't know till we really get it back. And so we need to move forward.
Yeah.
So
let's
this puts
get
us, this
thing
puts us
done.
on the clock. I was just texting Mr. Reed and I say, hey, we're on the clock. If they pass this thing, we're on the clock. We got to get moving. And so. Correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, we made a promise to the community, a big promise. It wasn't a small one. We all put our names on the line, and we promised the community we would see this pull through, that it would be seen through correctly. Mr. Reed, I think you're the man to make that happen, so our faith is in you, as a community's faith is in us. That's right, that's right. There's no looking around. There's no looking around. It's all you, brother. So, all joking aside, I makes sense to me.
So I guess I do have one question for a layman. The difference in the all-in true interest cost rising about a point, what does that what's that outcome actually mean for us?
Just higher debt service. If the cost of the money goes up, it just increases the cost of the debt service a little bit. Correct?
Yeah. Yep. And the all-inclusive cost measurement figure that's in the bond statistics page is it's like your APR on a mortgage. It factors in all of your costs of issuance, so it's kind of reflects your true cost of borrowing, including costs to get the loan, okay?
It's the interest rate plus all the other fees that are paid out, all lumped
Right.
into an expression of what the total interest rate then is, if you include that.
Right.
Thank you.
And obviously, when, we get the bid back, I believe it has to be taken to council for acceptance. So when we come back to council for, awarding the contract, we will know a lot better numbers at that point in time.
Yeah.
But the good part is that with a 5-year payoff, we will have the flexibility that if this pool comes in a little bit cheaper and we borrowed a little bit more money than we needed, we can always pay it off in 5 years.
So I have a couple questions. First, on the spreadsheet, is that based on the current 3.1% interest?
Correct.
Okay.
That was the assumption. These numbers are all going to change. I mean, these are, when we sat down, starting with Cherie and then now Kelly, we had lowered our revenue numbers from like 6.4 million down to, 5.8, 5.9. So we're really trying to make sure that these are conservative numbers, so we're not going to go into the red on Measure P.
Right.
And that this still kind of accomplishes all of our goals and then builds a pool and allows us to operate it and then pay our, take care of all the stuff that we had and we promised and that we're working on with Measure P so we can continue on.
Okay, and then my second question is on the O&M cost. So those numbers are based on the day-to-day maintenance and upkeep on the pool.
That would be the subsidy. So hypothetically, we could have a pool that has $1 million budget, but receives $550,000 a year in revenue, and this would be our subsidy.
And so my question is, so as we roll along, keeping the pool up and running and maintenance, as the years go by, the higher cost items that will be coming down the road with the pool upkeep, whether it's resurfacing or longevity of, pumps and filtration, and will this cover those long, future repairs, down the road, or do we need to be having a fund set aside to be ready for that when the time comes that, we'll be hit with a big major, resurfacing or repairing of the pool itself? Because my big concern is like with all things is the maintenance of it, not so much getting it, but, being able to maintain it at a high standard that we don't run into issues down the road.
My thought would be is as we bring the pool online, that could be one of the things that we set aside money for those major repairs. So when we have a resurfacing of the pool, like every 6, 7 years, where, you replaster the pool or whatever that event time is, that we have that money set aside through an impound account. We could do that too as we structure this.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, we chose 450 because I think I'm hoping it's a very high number for the subsidy, because obviously we're gonna, be charging for the use of the pool. We have an understanding about how many people we're gonna need, full-time to run the pool. And so this was kind of a number we got from Aquatic Design of what they thought it might be, but it is just a quasi-educated guess. We're really not gonna know till we, really get in and decide, hey, what sort of programs are we running? Are we gonna lease out the therapy pool to the hospital for programs, and that will, have funding? What are we gonna charge the swim leagues and the high school for using the pool? What are we gonna charge for the kids to go swim at the pool? Obviously, it has to be, affordable because it's a pool for all, but we gotta hire a bunch of, young kids to be lifeguards, and so there's a lot of moving parts, and there's gonna be a point in time, I know that Narissa is gonna be going to a training class here in the next month or two to start that slow process of, hey, what's it gonna take to manage a pool? And our intent is we're gonna hire somebody just to manage the pool. Perfect. Right off the top of my head, we'll have a pool manager and then a maintenance person full-time, and then probably everybody else is gonna be part-time.
Very good.
So those will all be borne out as the.
Right. Kind of,
That's-
kind of dynamic in process.
That's part of the process of the 12 to 18 months this pool's gonna be under construction. We'll be working to get ready. When that pool's open that day, there's gonna be a lot of lead time of, hey, training lifeguards, making sure we're certified, so there's a lot of work that's gonna go into this.
Yep.
But this is the first step to pay to build it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any public comments? Seeing none? Go to a vote? All right. So can I get a motion?
No, you have to bring it back to council again.
Bring it back to council for, yeah.
If there's further discussion, we want to bring it back for any discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, so
so
usually you'd you
No, that's okay.
start out with the council and like, hey,
Go
guys,
to public comment and then.
bring it
after
back.
that it'll bring it
Oh,
back to-
I thought we were commenting, so that was my bad. Okay.
no, you can, depending on how aggressive you want to be.
But aggressive. All right.
I do have a couple of housekeeping items. I mean, since you have put this in the package, this is about the city. If you can go to page 144 of the PDF document. Closed it.
I don't know if we're gonna. Which document are we talking about?
I don't know how to relate that. If PDF document is open, is it open, Rika?
We don't have it to where we can share it, but I'm
Yeah.
looking it up right now.
Okay. Could you describe what it is, Rika?
Yeah. Waiting for it to come up.
144.
What are the attachments? What are the attachments? What are the attachments? These main documents.
Okay, 144. Is this, the certificate will be delivered, is it that page, Solomon? Or is it the next page? Oh, nothing. Okay, so what was your comment? It looks like this is the
Certificate of participation,
the
yeah.
second page.
Second page, second paragraph,
Okay,
third line, it says, Mayor and Mayor Pro-Tem are elected by the city council members for one-year terms. So that has to be corrected for documentation purpose.
yeah, they're not, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on. They're not elected, they're nominated or appointed, and it is for the two-year term of the mayor, is that what we've been doing?
Mayor is two-year term.
Yes, so
Okay.
that's just verbiage in there we can change.
Got it,
I don't
okay.
know who wrote this, whether it was, can you make sure that, okay, and I can get with you, Kelly, and get that
Real quick.
correct word in there.
Same way on PDF 161, same correction.
I'm
Okay.
going there now. And what part of the paragraph is it in here?
Second paragraph, third line, mayor and mayor pro tem.
Second paragraph, third line on page, okay. Kelly and I will get those fixed.
But did you get that, just more as a description of the mayor, mayor pro tem? Instead of a
We'll get it corrected.
Got it, thank you.
Yeah, those things are also,
Is there one more?
we don't know who would be who.
Thank you. The other one is, it still listed Mayor Eric Bruin, so we need to change that to Travis.
And go to page 170.
Okay?
Transient occupancy taxes, it says the rate of 15%, it should be 15.75 actually.
Okay. I appreciate you, Solomon,
I think that's all I
very much.
We all
I just want you to know, we appreciate this.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all, sir.
Yeah, but I'll have Kelly send you an email on those pages and the corrections that are needed.
So Mayor, when we ask for a motion, we'll ask for it with the amendments.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments from council? Don't want to be too aggressive. Solomon, you sure you didn't find anything else? Okay, all right. All right,
We do have a call.
awesome. So public comment, we'll take the call. Please state your name.
Caller, we can't hear you.
My public was a public question on the previous item.
This is the first item that we're hearing, sir. It was consent before this.
Well, I know, but you were talking about the bond before that.
Right, we're still on the bond.
We're still on bonds.
Oh, well, my question is, you were how do I put it? Talking about paying off in 5 years?
It will have an early payoff clause with it, more
Okay,
like,
what you're saying is basically, you can recall the bond anytime you want.
no, we're required to make the first 5 years of payments, and then after that, if we choose to pay it off early, we can.
Okay, you answered my question.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I always love these mics. Are we good? Okay. First comment, so I had the privilege of teaching the high school pool, high school swim team during 2020 and 21 with no pool for our second year. I appreciate that you guys are here. I think I'm tracking on where everything is. I just have general questions. When we talk about typical maintenance for the pool, is the pool assumed to be just running seasonally, or will it be a full year affair? And would that affect your revenue and your maintenance costs at all?
I do believe the thought would be is the pool would be used year-round, but not particularly open to the general public. In other words, we would, if it was during the swim season, it would be rented to swim teams, Burroughs High School. If there was a entity that wanted to rent the therapy pool, that would happen. But general swim for the public, not sure. Really just depends on the demand.
Okay, so maybe like a summer season, that's probably max, and then you just taper down to 1 or 2 pools in the colder seasons?
Correct.
Probably? Okay.
Yeah, part of this process will be for us sitting down and what works for the community, what the demand signal for the public is.
Okay. And then for laymen such as myself that do not have backgrounds in finance, just some clarifications. The certificate of participation, when it says the civic complex and stuff, are these things that are being held in case you cannot pay off your bond? Or is that not how that works? Does that make sense?
Correct, it just secures the
Okay.
funding, correct.
Okay, and then after that 10-year point, does that mean the city fully owns the pool, we're good to go, or what happens after year 10?
Well, we would own the pool immediately
Okay,
because the pool's not part of the lease back. So once the pool's built, it's our pool. There would be no loan on the pool other than the bonds, and once the bonds are paid off, it's free and clear.
okay. I think that's it, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Can I get a motion to approve item number 9 with the amendments?
Move to approve with amendments.
Second.
There we go.
Please vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so next we will.
Me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Item 4.
Thank you all for your input. Next, we will move to item number 4, nomination and appointment of Mayor Pro-Tem and Vice Mayor.
So at this time, it is a general discussion among you guys. Anybody can nominate anybody, obviously other than the mayor, to see who wants to serve as vice mayor and mayor pro tem. Mayor pro tem would take the helm when you're not here, and the vice mayor would take the helm when both of the mayor pro tem and the mayor are not here. So you just open it up for nominations and then discussion, and we can move forward.
All right. So are there any nominations for, we'll start with Mayor Pro Tem.
Anybody?
I'll start.
Okay, yes, sir.
I'd like to nominate Councilmember Blades for Mayor Pro Tem,
Thanks, Scott.
if you were
Second.
willing and would like to that position. Let me clarify that, having not, you know.
Yep. Not a lot to expand on there, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Is
No,
anybody
I
else?
could go into a long speech, though. I mean, I'm sure the public remembers how I used to be a lot more verbose, and I've been trying to taper that down. I really do appreciate the nomination, Scott, and I will happily step in anytime you're not around.
Are there any other nominations? If not, we can take a second on Kyle.
I'll second.
Okay. And then we are just going to do a roll call vote on these. Is that okay, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll take them separately, so we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on the mayor pro tem for Kyle. So Mayor Endicott,
I can't joke with this, right? I just have to say yes.
you can do whatever you'd like, sir.
Oh, I was going to abstain. No, I'll say yes.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Gorman.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Blades.
Now the speech. No.
And now we
Was that
can.
you already cutting me off?
That was you already, yeah.
Okay, so
You planned that perfectly.
Yeah, I did.
next for
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor, any nominations for Vice Mayor?
Before we move forward, Mayor, just a quick thing. Is there anybody in the public who would like to comment on this item? It is an action item.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any public comment?
Thank you.
Okay.
Of course.
I thought there would be one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just somebody angry, please.
Yeah.
All right, so now, Vice Mayor, any nominations?
Mr. Rajaratnam, would you like to serve as the vice mayor?
I'll be glad to do that.
I second.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote. Mayor Endicott,
Aye.
Mr. Blades,
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam,
Aye.
Mr. Heyman,
Aye.
Mr. Gorman.
Aye.
5 ayes. Congratulations, Mr. Rajaratnam.
Thank you.
So now that it's over, could we get any public comment?
Yeah,
Oh, that's for both?
It's a single item.
Oh, okay. No. All right. So Now on to item number 5, discussion regarding needed appointments to council committees, boards, and commissions.
Yeah, so this one might take a little bit of time. We're going to tackle them one at a time. We can start with the Planning Commission. If we could go down the line and maybe have each of you name your appointment or your reappointment or whatever you're going to do, and then we'll vote on all of them at one time, and we're going to have to do several votes on each appointment as we go, okay? So we'll start with Mayor Endicott for Planning Commission.
Before we move forward, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Madam Clerk. Your appointments have accepted the nominations. Is that correct? The people that you are going to put forward for an appointment have agreed to serve.
That's the intent,
Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to.
Of course.
Thank you.
Mr. Endicott, go ahead.
So for Planning Commission, I have Cody. Cody, I'm going to need help with boxes. There we go.
Since he's new, do you want to maybe tell the council a little bit about him?
Absolutely. Or if you'd like to introduce yourself, but he is a military veteran. I believe you, CB?
Yes, I was CB.
So retired Navy chief, 21 years, has lived here since 2004, and currently does construction and facilities management around the world and at Nas China Lake. And he is my appointment for the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Cody, good choice, man. I'm glad you stepped up.
And And we'll go to the other end to Mr. Gorman. Do you have an appointment?
I do. Planning Commission, is that what we're
That's what we're
interested
on,
in
sir,
now?
yes.
I'll appoint Bernie Mondragon, who I believe has been on that Planning Commission previously. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Heyman?
So for Planning Commission, will continue to be Vanessa Hayman.
Thank you.
She has served on the Planning Commission for, I believe, the last 6 years.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
Mr.
And-
Rajaratnam? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Go ahead.
And then, did you want others at the moment?
We're just going to go across the board, do one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Rajaratnam?
I'm going to renominate Warren Cox.
Okay. Mr. Blades?
Mr. Bill Ferris Jr.
Okay. So we need a motion and a second on the planning commissioners.
I move that we approve.
I'll second.
Public comment before that, please?
Thank you, sir.
Jumped the-
reminding
I jumped the
me.
gun. Thanks, Martin.
Yeah. Any public comment?
Thank you.
Okay, sure. So we have a motion and a second, so we'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Endicott? Mayor Endicott? Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
Okay, 5 ayes, motion carries. We'll move forward to Personnel Commission. Mayor Endicott, do you have an appointment for that?
I do not. I'm going to leave that one open, and I will come back to it.
No problem. Mr. Gorman?
Mike Avery, as he's been serving on that commission.
Okay, Mr. Heyman?
Reg Johnson, who has been serving on that, in that position.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Roger, sorry.
And Mr. Blades?
Bill.
Okay. If we could have a motion and a second on that? Oh, public comment? I'm going to get it.
Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second.
Mayor Endicott?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries. And Construction Appeals Board, Mayor Endicott?
My appointment is Clifton Robbins. City member reached out, and he was interested in helping in any questions that may come to that appeals board, and wanted to help.
Okay, I will need to get his contact information so I can get him to get an application.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Gorman?
Again, a renomination of Bill F-R-E-U-N-D. Who knows?
Friend.
Friend?
Uh-huh.
Just like Friend, hey?
Yep.
Okay, piece of cake. Bill Friend.
Mr. Heyman?
I have nobody for that position at this time.
Okay, thank you.
I will work on it.
Thank you. Mr. Rajaratnam?
Renominate Mike Ferguson.
And Mr. Blades?
Bill's happy to do that, too.
Yeah? Okay, so public comment on that one? This is for the Construction Appeals Board. Okay. Can I have a motion and a second on that one?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Mayor Endicott?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
And Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Motion carries. The last one that we've got here for these citizen appointments is the Handicap Access Appeals Board. Mayor Endicott, do you have an appointment?
I do. Laura, it's either Vital or Vitali. She has worked with ADA compliancy and handicap disability issues, I believe, from a couple decades, really adamant about wanting to help out in any event that she can. She's my nominee.
Okay.
And
Mr.
I will
Gorman? Oh,
get-
sorry,
I will
sorry.
get you her contact information.
Thank you.
A renomination of Christian Loya. There's a middle name there I'm forgetting, forgive me.
That's okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Heyman? Mr. Heyman?
I do not have a member for that
Okay.
position yet, but we will work on it.
Thank you. Mr. Rajaratnam?
Renomination of Chris Hill.
Thank you. And Mr. Blades?
Renomination.
All right. So any public comment on the Handicap Access Appeals Board? Take a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Endicott, Mayor Endicott?
Aye.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the council committees. And this is just an internal discussion for you guys as I bring them up to say, I'd like to do it, I wouldn't like to do it, and just talk among yourselves to settle on 1 or 2, depending on how many we need. So the first one is the RACVB. We do have Jennifer Ricketts as staff that is the primary contact for that, but we do need a backup, and Mr. Rajaratnam was on that before. Do we have any discussion on that?
Did you want to stay there, Solomon?
Okay, we're
I'm
good with?
that.
All right, we'll leave Mr. Rajaratnam. Current Council of Governments. Currently, we have Mr. Gorman with Mr. Blades as backup. What would we like to do?
I'm satisfied to stay where I am, though it's still a struggle to make remote connection with this group for me, but everyone's been helping me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you ever have a day where you can't, just let me know. I used to log in all the time,
So
so.
write that down, Kyle.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, this brings up a little question. I thought I read somewhere that a new fussy law kicks in this year that says I thought it says this as I read it, I may not have read it very carefully. It said if you're on a committee that you tend to only attend remotely, you must at least one time attend that committee live and in person. Did I read that wrong? Has anybody else seen that law?
I will defer to Martin.
Yeah, I'm sure Martin's going to tee off on this in a very
Yeah.
official way, but I believe that there is a certain amount of,
I am not aware of that requirement, but I will gladly research it.
Oh, well, he was kind to me.
And you're talking about any legislative body or just committee specifically?
I don't know.
Okay, I will take a look, thank you. And I will advise the council.
But otherwise, just my name, you can leave my name on for KernCog, as we call it.
Okay, thank you.
so Mayor Endicott, if you're not aware, KernCog is, are you aware of it?
No.
Okay. It stands for Kern Council of Governments. It's where a representative from each city within Kern County get together and they discuss, it's roads, mostly roads. And of course, roads are not to be minimized. It's the biggest investment that we make. And a lot of big decisions happen there. Luckily, there's a very good staff coalition from all the cities. Mr. Reed attends, not in the elected portion, but in the other portion, I believe it's called the
TTAC.
The TTAC. Yep, and that's where a lot of the sausage gets made, but it takes place over in Bakersfield, and then you can also remote in from City Hall.
KernCog was very instrumental in the rebuild of Ridgecrest Boulevard. That's
Yep.
where we got a lot of our funding from.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And that's Kern Cog is how all the passing lanes, all the truck driving lanes are being built going into Tehachapi. Those that are happening, it's all Kern Cog allocated money, and they work very closely with the state. A lot of heavy lifting happens there, but we don't see it in the paper.
They literally administer 95% of our grants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, moving on is the Navy Community Council. That is the mayor and one other council appointment, so that will be Endicott. And then is there anybody else that would like to serve as the alternate? And currently it's Rajaratnam, but discussion?
Unless you just don't want to do it, I'm happy, or Scott.
I think it looks good.
So I didn't see, did he nod his head? Which one of you are going to do it? I'm talking between Rajaratnam and Blades, because I think, Mr. Rajaratnam. Kyle made a motion that you stay, or that he'd be happy to,
if you want us to keep doing it, gladly respect that. If you do not, then I will step in.
I will do it.
Okay, sounds good.
So we'll leave it as Rajaratnam. Thank you. Groundwater Authority. Currently, it's Mr. Heyman with Mr. Blades as the backup. So we can open this up for discussion.
I am excited to keep Mr. Heyman in that position.
Me too.
Any other discussion about it?
Scott, are you all right with that?
I'm very happy to take that.
Okay, and for an alternate? I guess it was Mr. Blades. Want to stay?
I'd say we keep punishing Kyle. Yeah, I'm good
Okay.
with that.
Like it. Okay, so on to our in-house committees. For finance, currently it is Mr. Heyman and past Mayor Bruin. So what is the discussion? Who would like to serve on the finance committee?
I would like to suggest I stay on that finance committee. I'd like to stay on it, but I'd like to nominate Solomon Rajaratnam, Councilman Rajaratnam, because he's attended a lot of the meetings. He has a business background in finance that I think is a benefit to the committee and to the city. So I would welcome him to be on that committee, but it's definitely open to the other council members.
I completely second that one. Just your attention to detail as shown tonight and multiple other times. And my elementary education of economics, I don't think that I need to be on finance.
Okay, so we'll move forward with Mr. Heyman and Mr. Rajaratnam. Okay, the next committee is the Youth Advisory, which falls under the same thing as Parks and Rec Quality of Life, I believe. Do we still have Youth Advisory? We
Yeah,
do not.
we deleted that
Okay, thank
committee
you.
a while ago.
So we don't need to do civilian and military affairs because that's the mayor and the chief of police. So moving on, it's East Kern County Air Pollution Control Board. Currently, it's Mr. Gorman and Mr. Blades. Any discussion?
It's a little group in Tehachapi.
Yeah.
They have very quick meetings, thank goodness. I'm happy to represent us to them.
And I'll stay second if he,
Everybody good with that?
Goes on.
Mr. Gorman and Mr. Blades moving forward? Okay. The next one is Quad States, Local Government Authority. Mr. Gorman has been serving on that currently?
I have.
Yes, sir.
It all becomes a blur.
They only meet quarterly. And
is that it?
it's very possible that they haven't met lately.
Yes.
So if you haven't been getting emails, I can make sure that you do after this, sir.
They're a sleepy little group. I'll be glad to respond and
Okay.
join in if I hear from them. Could
I'll make
you take some action to make sure they know that we're out here and stuff like that?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
We actually pay dues for that, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just haven't met, and that's why you haven't heard anything.
Wow.
But I will, when I send all of the committees the reappointments, that'll be one of those that'll get noticed for you.
Where is that physically? Where's that happening physically?
Vegas?
We actually had, so
Yeah.
we had in the past, council members that were very heavily active, and
Mr. Morgan?
Mr. Morgan was, he paid very close attention, and he was constantly coming in, even when he was no longer on council, staying on the committee and briefing, and
Yeah.
it was a good service to the
They
community.
did tortoise
They had a few things they were paying attention to.
and cactuses and whatnot, just trying to preserve the desert.
Okay, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
We pay.
Yes,
Coffee and donuts if I show up in person.
Possibly.
Okay, I'm there.
I'll make sure I get you in touch with them as we move forward.
Thank you.
League of California Cities. Currently, it's Mr. Gorman and it was Mayor Bruin. So what would we like to do for that?
I don't want to step
No.
over you guys, but I can serve as second.
Ah, good.
I was our primary for a while. League of California Cities is, they're an advocate for all, for local control with the governor's office. They're a big organization, so it doesn't always feel that way, but I'll leave it there.
Okay.
Mr. Gorman, are you going to stay as our primary?
Sure.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
We can switch the roles if you wish.
I'd be happy to switch the roles, as you say.
Yeah.
I've got a lion's share of these committees.
You want to take the lead on that, Kyle?
That's fine.
Okay.
You got it back, Kyle.
And Mr. Gorman, I'll leave you as alternate on that.
Thank you.
Moving on, BLM Roundtable. Currently, it is Gorman and Hayman. Any discussion?
That's a little BLM building on,
Richmond.
yeah, the road other than Gateway. I showed up there once for what I thought was a meeting, and everybody looked at each other with a blank stare. We don't have meetings.
They don't meet that often. You are
No.
correct.
I'll stop by and visit again and tell them about us and see if they're interested. Things can get wonderfully informal out there. Okay,
Mr. Hayman, did you want to stay as an alternate on that?
Sure, unless somebody else has a burning desire to take that. Seeing none, I'll
I
stay
don't
where
see
I'm at.
it.
You know what though, Scott, I wouldn't mind. So I was when I first got on council, I was our primary for that, and I enjoyed going to them because you actually learned a lot. And that was even during COVID. They would go meet in
No,
various places in the desert, and I enjoyed the meetings. They were good.
I agree, so it's
Yeah,
like,
they were very informative, I thought.
So who are we going with? Mr. Hayman
I
or
mean,
Mr.
Scott's-
Blades?
Scott's there, but I'm just offering it up if you don't have
Hayman,
time, because I know you're a busy guy.
okay, we can keep it the way it is.
Okay. Moving on to Infrastructure Committee. This is a committee that seats 2 planning commissioners and 2 city council. We're not going to discuss planning commissioners tonight. They do that among themselves at their first planning commission meeting. So tonight, we just need to discuss who on the council is going to sit there. And currently, it's Roger Rotnam and Blades. There's no alternate on these committees. These are both have to be there for a quorum, just so you're aware. Who's interested in infrastructure?
I would give up, but I would miss Travis Reed though.
You'll give it up, but you'll miss Travis. I'm sure you'll get enough of him somewhere else. We all do.
You want to take in?
Yeah, I can take infrastructure.
I nominate Mayor Endicott.
Okay, are you okay with that, Mayor? You good to move with infrastructure?
I would love to.
And Mr. Blades, stay?
I'm happy to stay there, unless somebody else
Good
wants
with
to be
that?
there.
Okay. So we're going to do Endicott and Blades on the Infrastructure Committee. City Org. Currently, it is Gorman and past Mayor Bruin.
So can I raise a question real quick? We have, throughout my time on the council, gotten rid of city org and then brought it back, and gotten rid of it and then brought it back. Do we still need it? I'm looking at, I guess, staff, I'm looking at you, Rika, or you.
Are they meeting?
So they meet sometimes when there's stuff, they talk trash for a little while, but I think you could lump trash into other committees. And if there's anybody from the community who really wants the city org there, but I haven't seen it.
A lot of those items can either be, yeah, a lot of them can be shifted to quality life or infrastructure quite easily.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. If the council is thinking about or considering terminating or dissolving the city org, that item would need to be agendized as a separate item.
That's where I was going to go.
Yeah. Today, you simply can choose not to appoint anybody to it and take action on it later.
I can bring it back to the next meeting if that's the consensus of the council. Sir?
Or could we just have it go dark, and if there's a need to bring it back, we can bring it back? I don't know if this is covered.
How was it originally formed, via resolution?
By resolution.
And does it have a set of regular meetings with dates?
It does.
Yeah, it would need to be, action would need to be taken to go
Yeah,
dark.
because otherwise we would have
Yeah.
to send a cancellation notice every time because it has a regular standing meeting.
Well,
So,
there's, I think the last 2 meeting calls have been canceled for ostensibly lack of quorum. It could be lack of agenda items,
I believe that is probably a little closer.
which brings up a point. I dropped what I call a Facebook blog into the system last Sunday. I tend to on Sundays. And in that one, it was called Skin Deep. You're welcome to look it up and read it. I expressed an interest in energizing one of these committees with looking into blight control in a special way as a series of conversations which I'd be glad to manage or facilitate myself. I don't know how subjects like this get attached to committees. I don't know if it happens out here.
Yeah, we just find the best fit for it.
Sure.
Some of the committees have a description on what they serve. I have not read that in a while, so I'm not sure where that would fit in, but that's how they get assigned.
Well, I'll be seeking your guidance to see who to approach and all that stuff.
Well, with that said, that might fall under city org, which you currently serve on. So depending on where this goes, what's the will of the council here?
I would say, for example, something like blight, which generally turns into code enforcement, could be thrown into infrastructure, could be thrown into quality of life. I think that most stuff that went into city org could have definitely been parsed out for other committees. It's my opinion, and I'm open to other.
It would be better for staff if we could consolidate some of these topics in other committees. It just makes it easier, because there's a lot of times we only have like 1 or 2 topics that are ongoing. It's really up to council, what you guys, staff will follow whatever you guys want, but if we can consolidate, that'd be great.
We can not appoint tonight, and I can bring that back as a discussion item for the dissolution of that committee.
Yeah, can we please do that?
Sure, everybody okay with that?
And then we can bring it back
Yes.
just as easy.
I'm
if
in
need.
favor of that, too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kyle.
Well,
And then
the-
we'll
the-
get together, we'll figure out the best place for yours, and we'll get you in touch with that secretary. Is that okay, Mr. Gorman?
Sure, sure. It was during the brouhaha of getting a trash contract going and waste management trucking along in the right vector that I always referred to the city org as the trash committee, and conversely as Parks and Rec, quality of life as the pool committee, simply because at the time that was all we discussed. So I'm
Good with that?
good with that, as you say.
Okay, so that brings up the next one, which is quality of life, Parks, Recreation, and Quality of Life. Currently, it's Mr. Gorman and past Mayor Bruin. What discussions would you like to do for this one?
I would like to be on that one.
Okay,
That was one that I attended quite regularly.
It was my favorite committee.
Yeah. So I would like to return to that committee,
You have
so we can have
So-
some discussion. Yeah.
discussion
Yeah.
among yourself, who wants it?
So over to you, Skip. I originally Scott stepped back so you could be there. Were you okay with Scott returning in your place?
Heck, it's fine with me.
Yeah.
Fine with me.
So we're looking at Mr. Heyman and Mr. Endicott?
Yeah.
That's what I understand. Okay. Everybody's good with that? All right. Economic Development. Currently sits on that board is Mr. Blades and Mr. Rajaratnam.
I'd
Can I
like
just-
to continue.
Mr. Rajaratnam says he'd like to continue. Anybody else for Economic Development?
Man, nobody's jumping from their seats for that one. So. No, I'm happy to stay there.
Okay, are we good with Mr. Rajaratnam and Mr. Blades? Okay. Okay, now we come to Measure V. We do not need to do anything with Measure P for the pool because it's recent, it's fine, they were just seated, so we're not gonna look at that one. We're gonna do Measure V appointments. Mr. Endicott, the past person that sat under Mr. Broom is Mr. Holloway. Are you going to use him or do you have another appointment?
I have another appointment. Joe Shermer.
Okay,
He's present. He can give you his information.
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
get with
we'll
you and everybody and make sure we get some committee appointments because we'll need their contact information, so.
Okay.
Mr. Gorman,
I dropped the ball here, Rick. I'm so sorry. I didn't contact Chris Hill and ask if they were willing to continue their association.
he did
with
reach
this
out to me and he is willing.
Hot dog.
So if you're okay with him,
I am indeed, make it so.
thank you. Okay. Mr. Heyman,
We'll continue with Brandon Temple, who currently serves on it.
thank you. Mr. Rajaratnam,
Whom do I have?
Gurpreet,
Good. I'll continue.
okay.
And Holly let me know.
And Holly was good with
She'll
that.
stay there, yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Shermer, Mr. Hill, Mr. Temple, Mr. Bodbrain, and Ms. Ferris. East Kern Economic Development. Currently, Mr. Blade sits on that with Jennifer Ricketts as our staff member. Any discussion on who wants to sit on that?
I'm happy to stay there. If
Everybody,
staff's okay with that?
okay? Yeah. Mr. Blade's going to stay, and we are done. That is all that we needed.
Public comment?
Yeah, any public comment on those appointments? Any of the appointees want to come up and say anything? No? Okay, yes. Okay.
Rick, do you need
Yes.
finalized with a motion, or are you good?
Those are actually appointed at, by the mayor, what's the terminology? I'm sorry, I did not look at that. I would have to bring up my staff report. I don't believe they need a motion, sir, is what I'm
Okay,
getting at.
that's fine, we're good.
Okay.
That was good, that was easy.
You know, if we could, for a second, go back, LAFCO, we didn't talk about LAFCO.
You are correct, yes.
Well, Mayor Endicott's correct, I'm just calling it out.
That was my next question.
So committee members shall be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the council. That's what the ordinance says. So we're good without a motion, is my understanding.
And now, we still have a LAFCO.
LAFCO.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sorry, that's not on this list because that is a new committee that past Mayor Broom was sitting on. Discussion.
It's a difficult one to be on. Sometimes you miss meetings. You'd miss a council meeting, and that's what Eric was contending with. Excuse me, I need to speak in the microphone. Eric was contending with that scheduling. It is a very important committee. So with that being said, I do offer it up for discussion. I don't know who, it's a difficult one.
I'm happy to volunteer to try and be the representative for that and try and get our concerns heard and be there for the meetings. I know that there are certain ones that I can do virtually, and it happens at the same time as our meetings, but
They start at 5:15, so in the past, he's just gone in the back and got on the Zoom, and then as soon as they're done, he's come out.
okay.
So,
I think there's only a certain amount of meetings you can attend virtually and a certain amount you can.
correct,
cannot.
that's the ordinance or law that
I just don't remember the exact law, but I know
Skip
there's a
was
rule.
talking about.
Yeah.
Because we were trying to meet those commitments with Eric to get him to certain committees, so we'll have to look into that and make sure that we
Okay.
keep everybody online for that, so. Mayor Endicott is willing to serve on that, everybody okay? Okay, any public comment on that one?
Oh, yep.
Oh, sure. LAFCO? Local,
Local Agency Formation Commission.
that's okay, I didn't have the mic, sorry. Did you get that, Renee? Formation Commission?
It's outside of our county as well. It's not just Kern County. And LAFCO is the organization that, well, the committee that you would be a part of if a new organization needed to be stood up. So, for example, if there was going to be another district set up in the East Kern, LAFCO would be the one to create that.
Can you come up to the mic, Renee, so that people, thank you.
Was LAFCO involved at all with the hospital in some
Yes.
merging activity last year?
It could be.
It has to do with the East Kern Healthcare District, of which the hospital has applied to be part of,
Correct.
and it's ongoing, correct?
That's a hospital thing, I don't know.
Any change in boundaries and areas of service by any public entity in the county needs to go through a LAFCO process. LAFCO sits over cities being incorporated, areas that are in the county being incorporated by adjoining city.
Annexation of
Districts,
property.
water districts, hospital districts, community services districts. So if there's a change in boundary or change in area of service, LAFCO is the commission that presides over that and has to provide approval for that to happen.
Okay, so I think it's important Mr. Endicott attend all those meetings.
He will attend all of them, it's just some of them may be via Zoom, some may be in person.
Okay,
He'll attend as many as possible, but with the intent of all.
okay, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, sir, I believe we can move on to the next item.
Good, we're almost there, people, don't worry. All right. Item number 6, discussion regarding the Board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Councilman Heyman, I believe you have that.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Groundwater Authority did meet on Wednesday, January 8th, and that was our first meeting of the new year. It was a rather brief meeting. I will go over the highlights of it. Beginning with item number 9 was the agreement with Wolf Hansen for municipal advisor services related to potential water purchase and interconnection bonding. That relates to bonding to purchase water for the funds for it, and that was approved by the board to give them the go-ahead to move forward on options. Item number 10 was discussion item regarding next steps for the Water Resources Development Act authorization. That pertained to, you've probably heard it in the past in my last meeting, the WRDA funding, the Water Resource Development Act, is the funding that we acquired through the federal government, $50 million to put toward the interconnect project, the pipeline project to bring imported water into the basin. And so this was basically just a discussion now that that has been approved by the Congress and Senate and signed by the President. Our agency that we have working with that, Capital Corps, they are just kind of went over some of the areas that they will start to move toward in next steps. So there was no action item on that other than just a nod to continue on our quest. So item number 11 was the update on Rademacher consolidation. So that is a area that is kind of on the south, slightly west end of town, kind of across from the new Albertsons to the south. There is a issue with the water quality in that area. The water is unusable. The TDS, or what we call total dissolved solids, and in the water there is very high, and so there's a family. Well, all the houses in that on that street are affected, but there's a family that right now they do not have water, usable water, potable water to bathe or to use. So The water district has taken on that, I guess you could say, action step to bring connection to this family and to that street and connect them to the water district's service. But at the moment, there's an issue because I think most everybody has seen out on Inyo Road where there's a big major water district project that's on the completion end of it, I do believe. All those big pipes that we saw laid out where they dug up and replaced old damaged lines. There's concern from the water district that if they tap into the system over near Rademacher at this point, that because the other system's it's down, that it would be a detriment to their service. So they're having to wait until they get the project completed out on Enokin Road, and then they can follow through with bringing service to the Rademacher area. So that was just a discussion item. Work continues to be ongoing with that. And next we have item number 12, which is the brief discussion on second transient pool adoption to be brought forward in February. That was a very brief discussion and will be discussed further in February pertaining to settlement with Mojave Pistachios and bringing on a second transient pool, which will provide water for Mojave Pistachios to purchase and for other small ag in the county there to be able to have option to purchase and continue with their operation. So, and that was it. So be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
No questions. Thanks for serving.
Scott, the groundwater sustainability plan is about to go in for upgrade.
Yeah, it goes through periodic review.
Periodic review, it's called?
5-year
Every
update.
5 years?
Every 5
Five-year
years.
update,
5-year
forgive
update.
me. If it's all coming back to me now. And indeed, that will be fully typed and stapled and about to be sent up to Sacramento to the state outfit whose abbreviation is?
DWR.
DWR.
There you go, thank you. See, the first thing that goes is the abbreviations. And I understand there's a real short turnaround between the time that the water district gets to see that report and the time that they have to comment on it. It's very short, like 72 hours. Was that because of some big mistake? Because I got a feeling you're looking at a slug of paper.
I don't believe
72 hours is the posting period for an agenda and for
Right, the
having-
water district has, their director has every same availability of time and input on the data as other board members, so there is no deficiency into the water district's ability to meet or read or review than anyone else on that board.
So they have the changes and everything, and they can put their technical team at?
Well, we're going to have a special
Reviewing it?
meeting on the 29th of January to discuss the update. But the reality is that the water district is sitting on information that they will not share with the Groundwater Authority. So we went ahead and developed the update without their information. So I find it kind of odd that the water district's concerned about reading a report that they refused to participate in. So it's kind of odd. But they will have time to look at that report as every other board member will. And remind you, it's just a living document. It is updated every 5 years, and they've known, we've been asking them for months to provide their data, which they have not.
Yeah, and, yeah, but honestly, they've had the 5 years to produce and add to, you know, the plan and have it ready for the update. So if there's.
So the complaint that they're not giving enough time to review this document and make comments on it is incorrect?
They'll have as much time as everybody else will have on it, yeah.
I would just caution the council, this item is a report from the last meeting. I think that getting into a discussion of whether, whatever assertions by whatever member of the GSA is correct or incorrect is probably not the right forum for
Oh,
here.
shucks, I used the wrong word again. That's all. My friend, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Okay. Do we have to vote on this one? We just
No,
move on?
Just
Awesome.
discussion.
All right, so to number 7, approval of resolution to increase positions within the police officer classification from 32 officers to 33 officers. Chief?
As the chief takes the longest possible way up to get
Yeah,
here.
Chief, you can either use the podium or you can use the table, whichever you feel more comfortable.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Rika, for making me number 7 and 8
You're very welcome,
of
sir.
8. Appreciate that. For number 7, the police department is requesting of the council authorization for a 33rd police officer position. We are currently authorized for 32 officers. The reason we're making that request is over the course of the last 10 years, we have an attrition rate of about 4.5 officers per year. That held true last year, and we're on pace for that to hold true this year. At the current time, we have 1 person in the academy, 3 about to start, 2 on training, and 4 officers that are out on injury, which affects about 30% of our staffing. This position will help us to try to get ahead when that is possible. So in the event we have, for example, 32 positions filled, which would be our goal, knowing that our attrition rate will be coming up because it takes about a year for an officer to start the academy, complete that academy, go through field training, and be a solo patrol officer, this additional position will give us an opportunity, when it's viable, to get somebody into the academy, even if it temporarily put us over the 32 officers. Functionally, we're able to operate and provide great service when we have all 32 of our officers in the seats doing the work that the community expects of them. But with that attrition rate, that has been a challenge. Additionally, usually we graduate 2 for every 3 officers we send to the academy. It's very challenging, and police work isn't for everyone. If they pass the academy, they still have to meet the standards that we expect for the Ridgecrest Police Department. And for that, it takes time. Some of the things behind the attrition rate, we sometimes hire folks that don't have Ridgecrest connections. The 3 people that start the academy next Monday all have significant Ridgecrest connections. We've really sought to recruit from within our community for people who want to serve here, to decrease the likelihood that maybe they'll leave later just because they're not from here and they don't have those connections. And our goal is to make them, part of the Ridgecrest family, make them feel good about their work at the police department, and with their connections here, hopefully we can cut that attrition rate, which will help stem that tide of trying to keep the positions full so we can be at full capacity. We continue to work to do so. The fiscal impact at this point for fiscal year 25 is essentially nil based on our current open positions. We have salary savings that would cover that. However, we would request an augmentation to the budget in the event there was some offset in the amount of about $28,381. The ongoing cost of that position would be $83,525 added to future budgets. Keeping in mind, the goal is not to have 33 in perpetuity, but to try to make it so that can help us in staying at 32 positions. That's the end of my presentation on this issue. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So is the 4.5 police officers that are leaving in a given year, are there any trends that, like it's dying off, there's not as many as 4.5, or?
For the great deal of time that I've been the chief in Ridgecrest, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Last year, we were on trend. At this time, today is January 15th, and we have 3 officers looking to leave for other departments. So
Awesome.
it
Okay.
looks like we're going to hold to at least the 4.5.
Okay.
We have every expectation. Those are good officers with nothing that would prevent them from going anywhere else. we anticipate that they will be successful in their endeavors, and we'll have to backfill for them as well.
Okay. Any other questions?
So appreciate your presentation, and I appreciate the position you're in, trying to make this work and keep a functioning PD. So thank you for bringing this forward. I appreciate it. Just shows some forethought. I guess this question goes over to Mr. Strand or Kelly. The additional funds out of the budget, is that going to be soaked up Measure B, Measure P?
We should have sufficient salary savings to cover this position till the end of the year.
And going forward?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, we can discuss it further during the next budget cycle, but for right now, the plan that the chief has to get that position filled, I think is sound.
Oh, no, yeah, the plan sounds great. I'm all aboard with that. I just want to make sure we were thinking about that and at least speaking out loud, talking about it. I mean, even in the presentation we just saw for the bonding of the pool, there was an allocation for additional police positions.
Correct.
Moving forward out of 25, 26, 27. So, thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say I commend your proactive approach to this, with the maintenance of the personnel within the PD.
Thank you.
So I think that's a much better approach than having the extreme yo-yo effect of, losing officers and them being down and trying to, pick it back up when you're trying to stay abreast of it. So I like the idea.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other council questions?
Skip, you got anything?
No? Any public comments? Seeing none? Vote.
Yeah,
right.
move
So,
to approve them.
Can I
Yeah,
get a motion to approve?
Second.
Item 7.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who first. And second?
Second.
Please vote. I'm sorry, my mic wasn't on either.
Once again, I was first. Reflex.
5 ayes, motion carries. I hear secrets down there, Mr. Gorman. You okay?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Moving
you,
on,
sir.
moving on to item number 8, authorization to enter into a 5-year agreement with LensLock, Inc. for fiscal year 26 through fiscal year 30 for body-worn cameras, in-car video cameras, connectivity software installation, and CAD integration, authorization for approval of appropriations in the fiscal year 25 annual budget to purchase connectivity services. Chief?
Thank you. Thanks again for having me. Allow me to present our body-worn camera request of the council. We've been looking at body-worn cameras for the last several months. As I have spoken with each of you individually, I think we're the only agency I know of that doesn't have body cameras. We have had 2 town hall meetings where we've discussed the benefits of the body-worn cameras. Those benefits include our ability to enhance our investigations. Our officers are able to get, for example, a quote or a certain scene on video rather than just by memory and documentation. They're also good for the officer-community interactions. We want to make sure that we're providing the best level of service and that we're able to see the behavior of everyone involved in a certain incident. It helps us to mitigate complaints. It helps us to provide training for our staff. When we're able to go back and look at these videos, we're able to see what our officers are doing, how they're doing it, if we need to change a policy to be more reflective of the actual practices of our officers to make sure that we in the city are protected, if we need to work with our officers to change perhaps their congeniality to make it so that our services are better received by the community, we want to be able to do that as well. In doing our research, we researched several companies to provide this service, and we have come to LensLock as the provider of service that we would prefer. The single biggest component that put LensLock ahead of other places is they are the only company that provides in-person FBI CJIS compliant redaction services. So with other services, when we look at the privacy concerns of our community, we have to do a lot of redacting. If you read our policy, which is posted in draft form on our website, and I believe it was sent out to the council, for the folks in the community, it's on our website if you'd like to read that policy. It talks about the strong need for the security of the videos, that they're not going to get out. One of the council people pointed out something that I think is important to look at. Oftentimes, your interactions with the police department, no matter how good our intentions might be, that's often the worst day for those people. And we want to make sure that not just anybody can walk in and say, I want to see the video of what happened down the street. Both state law protects that, as well as our policy. So when we talk about redaction services, when you look at developing a camera program, that's a significant component, because somebody has to sit at a computer and redact names, dates of birth, license plates, faces, addresses, things of that nature. The fact that LensLock is able to provide that as an in-person service rather than relying on simply AI makes them the only provider that we would choose without having to add personnel to manage that redaction component. As you can see in the list, they provide the whole litany of services that comes with that. Most of these things are directly through LensLock, the equipment, the cloud storage, et cetera. The only difference is we have to add a Verizon card to our cradle point system in the car to provide connectivity. That connectivity is actually twofold in that we currently use AT&T as our provider for our in-car computers. AT&T does not work in some of the areas we service, particularly the Trona area, where officers are often assigned to go and assist the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. So in addition to the Verizon cards being beneficial for the in-car and body-worn camera systems, they will allow our officers to remain connected to the city via their mobile computers when they're in Trona using the Verizon card. The cradle point piece of equipment allows it to switch back and forth to whichever one has the best signal at the time. The financial impact for the first several months, this is also a unique feature that LensLock offers. They realize that we operate on a fiscal budget annually, so we don't pay anything to LensLock prior to our next budget cycle. So we don't have to budget anything new for the first few months between now and July 1. The year one costs are a little bit higher because we do have to purchase some equipment in addition to the annual services. The annual cost being $83,600 for the 4 years following our first year of fiscal year 25. The first year cost is $129,500, and then we'll pay about $14,000 a year for that Verizon service. The other thing we'll do is every 30 months, which essentially is one time during the contract cycle, we will upgrade to their latest equipment, and it's part of the contract. There's nothing additional in there. So the total for the implementation of the program is $547,190, and we would work that into the coming fiscal years 25 through 30 for the 5-year contract. Another benefit to LensLock is they are confident in their service in that while we have a 5-year contract, with 60 days notice, we can get out of it. They believe in their work. It's the only company where we've talked to their CEO directly to answer our questions. So we appreciate the level of service that they provide. We also contacted multiple other law enforcement agencies who use LensLock and got nothing but good reviews, speaking very highly of their customer service, in addition to the quality of the product for day-to-day police work. So with that, we would ask the council to support us entering into a contract with LensLock that would start tomorrow, and we'll get this stuff coming. We've worked it out with them. We can have body cameras here in about 2 weeks. So probably 4 weeks, everybody will have them in the field. And by June, we should have the cars done. The cars are a little bit complicated because you essentially have to tear them apart to run all the wiring and that kind of stuff, but we will facilitate that. But the body-worn cameras, we will deploy very rapidly because both in the community meetings we held as well as some informal surveys, 97% of people are supportive and want this out there to help with transparency with the work that we're doing out there, and I agree with them. The community wants it, we want it. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there's something I haven't answered already.
There's a representative here too?
Yes. Sean's here from LensLock, from Utah. came in to make sure that if we had some technical questions, you guys had something that, just a cop couldn't answer. We had an expert here. He actually brought some of the stuff that anybody in the public, we do have samples of the camera equipment, and we can explain some more stuff. We want to make sure that we answer your questions. This program only moves forward because the community was desirous of it. We want to make sure that we support that, and that's why we had the community meetings to get input, whether it was good or bad. We want to hear it all. We want to make sure we're making the decisions that continue to drive the support that the city of Ridgecrest community gives us. I believe our community has great trust in the police department, and we want to continue that and just make it stronger moving forward. So with that, I'll take any of your questions.
During the community events, what was I know you gave the 97%, but the 3% that individuals voice concerns, what were the major concerns raised?
So, much to my disappointment, the 3% didn't show up to community meetings. Okay. They simply clicked their survey that they were no's. We had nobody that wasn't supportive of the program to show up and voice the rationale behind any lack of support.
Because I've tried to, ever since the first time meeting with you and talking about it, I've tried to think of the negatives that could come with providing this service for public safety and also for officer safety. And I couldn't, I'm sure that there are, but I can't come up with any reason why I would be against it.
Chief, I went to your first community meeting. I found it very educational, even enjoyable. I sent my wife to the second community meeting.
Thank you for that.
She liked it too.
She had some great questions.
Oh, yes, she's a remarkable person indeed. You know what would be an interesting thing to do? I say to those who are still here, imagine that you have one of those cameras strapped to what, your chest?
Yes, sir.
For the next 24 hours and see how it changes the way you do business. I'm going to try that. I imagine there's a little bit of stage fright associated with it.
Yes. So having grown up in police service from no body camera to body camera, there is a transition. Early on in the transition to body cameras, maybe 2014, 15, most officers were a little bit reluctant to be wearing a camera because, Big Brother is watching and, your supervisor is going to watch what you did and how you did it. And now I can tell you most officers who are out there doing it right don't want to leave the office without a body camera. It protects you to a great extent. It also helps you with your investigations. The mind only works, as good as it can work. You can go back and see exactly the circumstances under which you found something during a dynamic situation when things are happening very rapidly. Your recall might not be exactly what happened. It might be a generality, but we can be more specific when we refer to those things in our police reports, which helps the district attorney when there are grounds for prosecution to be able to build even a better case and to have additional evidence to present when there's a jury of someone's peers who has to make a determination of guilt or innocence. It's just another piece of the puzzle that we can use to help make that a stronger position to ensure that the right things are being done.
Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome, sir.
I have a question in regards, when I met with you, we talked a little bit about it, but once a officer responds to an incident and the cameras are activated, is there protocol within the police department, our own police department, or through the company, is it Lens or Lenslock? Lenslock, that covers proper protocol of the camera, I guess you could say usage or.
Yes, that's covered in our policy. So we wouldn't turn the camera on if we're at Starbucks and somebody comes in and wants to visit with the officer. That just isn't reasonable. We're going to have normal interactions with people. Everything doesn't need to be recorded. The officers aren't going to run the camera their whole shift. But anytime there's a situation where there's enforcement action or consternation between the officer and anyone, we want those recorded because if they develop into something else, they'll be recorded. The policy is very clear about those situations in which we activate the camera, the isolated situations where you may be able to turn the camera off. For example, one example is in the hospital. If there's nothing controversial going on where they're getting somebody medically cleared for a booking, they're not being quarrelsome, everything's fine, we're capturing a lot of background data on other people in the hospital. There's no legitimate law enforcement need to capture that data unless that was to change to a situation of conflict where the officer would want to record their actions if, for example, the person tried to escape or, something of that nature. But we don't want to be capturing, somebody who's there for a heart attack in the background or the voices of people talking about those folks. So that would be an instance where we wouldn't activate the camera minus one of the triggers that says we're going to override that based on that particular situation. But in that policy, it is very clear.
Okay, and where I'm going with is the officer's discretion, ability to turn it off or on, and that would be a concern, as to whether we're getting the...
Absolutely. So when you're assigned to an incident, your camera should be on. The policy is clear. There are no you probably shoulds. Either shall be on or won't be.
Okay.
The policy is clear. Sure, the officer has discretion. Just like with any policy, they can choose to follow it or not. But our expectation is that they'll follow that policy both to protect themselves and because we make rules that need to be followed. And we haven't got any pushback. They're not here tonight, but we've worked with the Police Officers Association, and we got zero pushback on them. They want this probably more than I do. They want this out there. If he could have brought a box of cameras, we'd try to roll them out in the morning. They're very much behind it because of, it's nice to have that extra piece of, this is what actually happened.
Yeah, and I'm not meaning it in a negative aspect toward our PD and per se, because I see it as a benefit for both the police officer and the whatever party is involved in an incident. So I think it's a real positive.
Yes, with a few exceptions, the camera, it will be activated and then deactivated by the officer according to the policy. There are a couple of times when it will activate on its own. We can set a trigger for if you open the back doors where we would put somebody who's in custody. If for some reason the camera hadn't been activated by that point, it'll turn the camera on to say, hey, we're putting somebody in the back. That's probably something that should be recorded. As well, if the officer suddenly starts to run, the camera will activate itself. If the officer were to fall down and not get up, it would realize there's a problem and activate the camera to capture that. With regard to the vehicle cameras, they are set for collisions. If the vehicle is involved in a collision, it will record. It will record video from whatever time we set backward. So if I get in a collision, it'll have about, in our case, a minute of video of what happened in that previous 60 seconds prior to the collision. The same thing occurs with the body camera itself. Generally, that's set for about 30 seconds of recording video only. So for example, if somebody came in here, I don't have to activate my camera, but if somebody came in and created some type of threatening situation we needed to address, I could activate my camera, but as I turned to look at them, it would capture the last 30 seconds of what happened on video and then activate audio from the time it's activated forward. So there's a little bit of, capturing things that happen. Our job can be dynamic. Officers have to make split-second decisions, and we want to capture some of that video to help support why those decisions were made in the sequence they were, and the video will help with that, with some of the automatic activations as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, I see the benefit of body cameras. At the same time, are there any privacy concerns about this?
Of course. We're recording things. There should be privacy concerns. The community should want to know the answers to those privacy concerns. That's why they're addressed in the policy, and state law is pretty clear. If you don't have a right to know or a need to know, you're not going to get a video. And if there's anything in there I don't want you to see, I'm going to redact it. We expect to release very little video. The video is largely going to be used between us and the district attorney and for internal issues, training, education, looking into different incidents to see how we can better deliver service. But sure, anytime we're recording anything new, there is a privacy concern. But it's my job as the chief to make sure that when those things are not legislated, they're based on a decision. My decision will be that we will not release things that we don't have to release, because the privacy of our community is very important to me.
Another concern I have is the cost involved. I mean, this is very expensive.
Yeah.
I know we are banking on Measure V. If something happens and Measure V funds are gone, how are we going to fund this?
Sean's probably out of a job. We would enact our 60 days and we would get out of it. That's another reason this contract is safer for us. It is very expensive, but I will say that it is actually less expensive with LensLock. Some of our quotes were $250,000 a year. So their 83-ish is good. I take using the community's money very seriously, and that's why we looked around. I actually talked to, at a conference I was at, I specifically went to every vendor who had body cameras because I knew this was coming, to look at what they had to offer, what their back-end support was, and that's actually how we found the LensLock folks. Is I was able to talk to the CEO of the company at that conference, rather than just a gaggle of salespeople. You know, this is the guy who calls those shots and makes himself available to my questions, which I was grateful for. But we still looked at the other companies, even the ones that were more expensive, to make sure that we were getting a high-quality product that met the needs of our community at a price that was reasonable. So, you know, both things are a factor. We weren't just looking for the cheapest thing, because then we'll just replace it soon, and that's a whole, you know, process of getting rid of it. So yes, it's very expensive, and if I thought there was a way to do it for less and still get the quality that we're getting, I would look into that. But I think that we've reached the happy medium of cost and service, not to diminish your service in any way.
So though the contract is for 5 years, we have an option to get out of that at any time, giving
Yes.
60-day notice.
I think, you know, and Sean can correct me if I'm wrong, the contract is really so they can forecast what they need for cloud storage, when they're gonna have to replace, when I get my 30-month replacement in the middle, you know, they've gotta buy that stuff and project out for their own business. They also have to have these in-person FBI CJIS compliant redacting people. Our contract tells them, okay, we need this number of people to keep that moving. So that's why we have to have a contract, but they're also confident enough in their service that with 60 days we can get out. Nobody else is going to offer us that.
So our staff, we have 32, I think, right?
We have 32 officers, but we additionally have 6 dispatcher positions,
Okay,
code
that's why
enforcement.
you want
So our
39.
officers are 32, or 33 now, because you guys
33,
voted.
yeah.
And another interesting little side bit, they actually provide our command staff, so the captains and I, we don't get charged anything for our cameras, our body cameras, probably because in other police departments, the command staff doesn't actually work, so we're going to get over on them with those 3 cameras because we get out and work. So they're actually going to have to save some stuff for us.
So how many days do we save the videos?
So generally speaking, most things are kept at least 2 years. If you rummage through the policy that we sent out, on the second to last page of the policy that was sent to you, it lists out how long we keep each thing. Some of that is legislated. Some of that is based on decisions that I made with the input of our police department leadership.
So is there any California law for that, or?
There is. Some things have to be kept. Complaints, when we have a forced response to somebody else's actions, we have to save those for a certain amount of time, and those are all listed out in there.
Oh.
Some things we keep forever. Well, they keep forever. It's their cloud.
And why is the cost more during the first year?
Equipment. So mostly for the cars, we had to buy they're called cradle points. It's basically in-car intranet. We had to buy those and have those installed.
Okay.
So that's the only upcharge the first year. And the only thing that we have to cover, even in fiscal year 25, to the tune of about $7,200, are the new Verizon cards for each of our marked patrol units. These will not go into detective cars, command cars. These are designed for the black and whites that are out doing the lion's share of the frontline work that we do each day.
So I think you mentioned first 9 months it is free, or they won't charge us, right?
Pretty much till July 1st. They recognize that because of our fiscal year, we don't want to have to go back and do a budget augmentation that creates challenges. So really, it's a cool sales tactic on their part, like, hey, we'll get you through this budget year to stick with us. And it's clever, and I like it.
So is that 9 months included in the 5-year contract?
It's really not 9. It's really going to, we wrote some of this up before. It's July 1st. So as we work through the budget cycle for fiscal year 26, this will be included in that moving forward. But we don't have to do anything with fiscal year 25 other than these nominal adjustments.
Oh. Okay, that's all I have for the time being.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Well, going last, everybody else already got my questions. I went to town halls. I appreciate you having them. Those are important for the public. And overwhelmingly, almost every single person, I think I was the only one raising questions.
Yeah, that's
really,
true.
It is true. Everybody else was very positive, and I have talked to the public externally for years. And the question to me consistently is, why do we not have these already? I also get the comments, wait, you don't have them already? Aren't there cameras on the cars? That's always what I get. People don't even understand why we don't have them already. My questions were largely due to privacy. Solomon, you addressed that. I appreciate it. You addressed it very well in your brief and in the town hall slides. And you said it appropriately. When the police approach you or enter into your life, they are not always invited, right? That's the long and the short of it. You may be doing something you're not supposed to be doing, and that's why. Or it could be just a question, whatever that case is, and not everybody wants to be recorded during that. Be that as it may, I think that in talking to you and at the town halls and in private, you didn't see a lot of those privacy issues where you were at, and across the state of California, it isn't a trend that it's being abused. Is that true?
That is true, sir.
Yeah. The next question I would have is you've already probably discussed with the city staff, Kelly or the city manager, about these funds going forward were wedged appropriately to soak it in immediately?
Yeah, the cost for the first year total about $21,000. Thereafter, I'll let the city manager speak to it.
Yeah, we'll just work it into the budget in FY '26.
I assume that you'd had the talk.
Yes. Actually, he had no idea that I was going to present this tonight.
Well, you know, that's, hey, you got to keep people on their toes. Good first couple of months. But those were my concerns, and I think I was one of the only ones raising them. For those who didn't get to attend the first town hall, out of respect, I won't say the names, but there were some people that did speak up on behalf of the ability to these cameras to assist in building cases, and what a huge help they've been in every agency in helping to secure and convictions. And so I'm hoping that is true. I know that there's a couple of police officers back there, and I know you have a lot of experience. A lot of times you guys are building cases that you only got what you got, and a little bit of video evidence would probably go a long way. I guess the next question I'll ask you, which you probably answered, but I'd just like you to say it to the public, is these body-worn cameras, for the cost, how is it going to assist the public? And I think that's the question on everybody's mind is, yep, we see how it's helping the police, we see how it's clearing up complaints. What's the public getting from you having a body-worn camera?
It's getting just that. So we've talked about it before. It's man hours. We're able to free people up from, sometimes we get complaints that, in my experience with the body camera, not necessarily in Ridgecrest, but sometimes you'll get a complaint from somebody who's dissatisfied that they were on the receiving end of law enforcement services. And when you tell them, hey, I listened to the body camera and none of that is on there, that complaint is assuaged and we no longer have to invest time into an investigation when we can get to it early. It also helps the community member not have to go through that part of the investigation as well. Because maybe their recollection is just different. It's not that they're trying to be dishonest, but in their
Well, especially in a tense situation, people are worked up. I
Yeah, they
understand
might
that.
recall
Yeah.
it differently, and we're able to show them that this is how it actually occurred. And that's one of the benefits. The other benefit is, I would say that these prosecutions benefit the community. If something on a body camera can help us get a conviction of a violent criminal, having that person not in our community for a period of time is a benefit to the community.
Yeah,
And I'll be honest, you know me, I'm a little bit of a funny guy.
Very
When
funny.
body cams came out, I learned that I couldn't be a funny guy all the time, because when my sergeant played it back for me, it wasn't as funny. So it helped me learn to deliver my service in a different way, and I didn't take that as a negative thing. I could also go back and listen to myself and how I talked with people. And I would expect that my staff will do the same thing as they take an introspective look at how they deliver service. I listened to myself talk to somebody in a non-confrontational situation on my video, writing a report, and my tone was a little bit sharp. And I acknowledged that, and I made efforts to change that so that it didn't come across to a community member as such. And I think that our professional staff at the Ridgecrest Police Department will do the same thing. It's not about, I don't have to look at their videos. They'll learn things about their communication skills by looking at their own videos. This isn't a micromanaging tool. This is a tool that I think will make us better, and the way the community will feel that is we will be able to correct little mistakes, be a little more congenial, take care of some complaints in real time, because we'll be able to go right back and say, I can listen to it right now, because these will download from the cars. So by the time somebody can make it in the office to talk to me, I can download the video and watch it. So I think it'll be a really good tool to increase transparency and communication with the community.
Yeah, I think so too. And so the last thing I'll say on this, Chief, is even prior to your arrival, the conversation in the community about having body cams has been ongoing, and the cost was, God, it was very prohibitive. I appreciate you doing the research, getting the lens lock. I appreciate you being here and serving, in your own way, serving the community. Yep. And
So I'll speak to that. I would have tried to get cameras sooner, but Measure V was on the table.
sure.
And what I tell the people that work at the police department about Measure V is that this community chose on their own to pay an additional piece of tax to give us the tools to provide the service they expect. So I expect when we go out there and deliver that service, that we take into account that unlike other communities that the tax comes from the normal sources, the people of Ridgecrest voted to pay extra to give us the tools and equipment necessary to provide great service, and it's our responsibility to do that. But we certainly couldn't have done it without that investment the community has made in us. I mean, these things aren't free. As soon as you assign them to the government, everything costs more.
Sure. Yeah, and last thing, promise. It's been, but I'm speaking in broad strokes, but largely this community loves their police department. That's what I hear. That's not fake. I'm not making it up. If I had a lot of criticisms to level at you, I would level it. But across Ridgecrest, ever since I've been on this council, I hear mostly good stories. You will hear every once in a while, people are not always appreciative that they have to run with law enforcement, but across the board, everybody loves their PD. And in speaking to you and in speaking to a few other folks, this is just going to ensure that relationship continues on. So thank you, Chief. I appreciate your presentation.
Thanks. Thank you for the questions.
All right, any other, or is there any public comment? Okay. Do I have a motion on discussion item number 8?
I move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a
Please
second.
vote. Five ayes, motion carries.
All right, so now on to, we are done with the discussion and action items, on to committee reports. EDC had a meeting on January 6th, was it held?
Oh, yeah, we had economic development. Yes.
So,
I'll be happy to report on that. If I miss something, Solomon is sharp as a tack. He will step in. And Aaron, thank you for your reporting. I do appreciate it. So Jersey Mike's is coming along. That's all I can say. I want to make promises because every time I do, I'm failed. So what I hear is that there is some amount of movement, but that's all that I know. Five Below and Ross. There are plans in hand, but March is the most optimistic estimate. And I know there are revamped plans out there for the Oasis Entertainment Center, but that's another one where I hesitate to say that things are for sure coming. Until we see, I have learned that until we see business licenses, you can't necessarily count on something being in Ridgecrest. Wendy's is also working through some permits, so again, checks in the mail. The last thing I wanted to mention is this Economic Development Committee. We go over anything and everything that's either whether it's new developments or other ideas, whether it's revamping Balsam, you name it, we try to go over it in this meeting. I was thinking, and Solomon, I didn't get your opinion on this. Should we move the RECVB to that committee, or do we want to continue to outbrief it here at the council meeting? And I'm sure it would need to be another agenda item. Martin?
I think RACVB is a separate entity. It is not city's, right, Ron? It's not city controlled.
Correct, but we do have, a city staff member that's on it. It could allow us to be a little more efficient, so then Jennifer doesn't have to come to council to report on the RACVB meeting. We could just do it to economic development, because there's usually nothing there that is really ground moving for council to hear, but it does have an economic development aspect to it for how many people are staying at our hotels, how are things trending, what events are driving hotel stays. So it might be a little bit more efficient just to put that in the Economic Development Committee. And then, because Jennifer's also the chair, and she also sits on the Visitors Bureau, so we can just kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. But it's up to council.
If we change it, it would have to be on the agenda.
Yes, future.
But I wanted to bring it up as a point of discussion.
Wouldn't have to be. It's not set by resolution. That's all RACVB, and it has nothing to do with us. So if you want to change it, we can make it an agenda item. I don't even think we have to make it an agenda
We
item.
would need to make it an agenda item.
Even though we didn't make it an agenda item to put it on there, we just started doing it.
This is ad hoc.
It has nothing to do with us. It's our,
And we're just attending it? Is that-
yes.
Right.
Yeah, we can stop attending.
Well, they want to keep attending, but they're just going to report to the Economic Development Committee instead of reporting to us.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Simply an idea. I'm not saying we got to reinvent the wheel. I was trying to make things easier with my earlier recommendations, with this recommendation. We often have a lot of committees that just stand up to be stood up, and I was just trying to be more efficient.
Efficiency works.
I can remove it.
You guys are okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it a vote?
We don't need a vote. If
Awesome.
y'all got the
Okay.
consensus, I'll let
Okay.
the committee chair know that it's coming her way.
Okay. Last thing, farmer's market is on a seasonal schedule now. That schedule is up on the website.
All right, so the other item is Finance Committee, report from January 14th. Was that meeting held?
We discussed it.
No, it was canceled. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We have some meetings coming up, but on to other committees, boards, or commissions. Any items council members would wish to discuss?
Nope. This is normally where you would do Kerncog, East Kern Air Pollution Board,
LAFCO.
all those guys.
Okay.
But I don't think anybody has anything.
Which brings up a quick point, housekeeping point.
Yes.
Kyle,
Sure.
primary on Kerncog. Now, you have a meeting tomorrow night at 6:30.
That's still you, brother. I'm the League of California Cities.
Did I write that down wrong? Shucks, okay.
Yeah, but nice try, though. That was quick. That was quick. Glad I was paying attention to that one. Kerncog. I still keep it in my phone, so it's.
Way up here, I'm like, where's that? Yeah, it's still growing.
Aren't they dark? We were dark. I think it would be dark tomorrow.
I haven't seen an agenda, sir.
Make it happen, okay. Goody,
All right,
thanks.
all right, Skip's happy. All right, so next, city manager report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did state that I would follow up on Mr. DeRosa's comments on his issue at his new development at 313 West Church Avenue. He has been addressed by our Public Works Director. Our ordinance is pretty clear. It's a new build. All new builds have to have underground electrical to the building. He also has issues with his driveway. It needs to be updated as part of the new development. We've had other new development in that area. They've all have undergrounded their electrical. We have met with him and told him the proper path is either to get a variance or file an appeal with the Planning Commission, and he has chosen not to. So we've given him the path in which he can attempt to make a change or a variance in this ordinance, and he has not availed himself. So this is a council-approved resolution that we're following, and that's pretty much where it's at. We've given him the ability to find redress, and he's elected not to go that way.
So how do we address his contention saying that it is applicable only to subdivisions as per the code?
What was that again, sir?
He quoted a,
Section 52, the subdivision improvements is what he was,
Yeah,
Go
Travis,
ahead,
could
sir,
you
you're
come
the
up?
expert in this area.
He hasn't talked yet tonight.
no.
It's killing him.
It is not killing me. Contrary to popular belief, Mario took the words out of my mouth tonight, so. Yes, it is under subdivisions. Subdivisions is the common section that all of our,
We might be creating a problem here because
We're really not agendized for this. Staff will gladly respond.
Travis, we're going to need you to not speak on this, so thank you.
Right.
Appreciate
The problem I have is if he does file an appeal, they're the ultimate arbitrator, so we need to be careful of what we.
Yeah, exactly. And we're,
How-
I spoke to the gentleman, or tried to the extent that he wanted to hear what I had to say, and explain to him the process by which he can grieve the decision that was made at staff level. And he's capable of availing himself of that process.
Correct. Didn't want to deprive you of info, it's just more of if it comes this way, you may be the hearing party on this, so.
Anything else?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's all I have.
Okay. All right, next item, future agenda items.
Did we need to make it a future agenda item to get rid of the city org committee?
I already have that on my list.
All right, so next agenda item, we're almost there. Mayor and council comments. Councilman Gorman, do you have any comments?
Thank you for asking, but no, it's really, really late. I'll be quiet.
Councilman Heyman?
I have none.
Councilman Rajaratnam?
I would say good meeting, lot of issues, and everything was approved for the benefit of our community. So thanks to everybody for being here so late. I appreciate that.
Councilman Plains?
Yeah. Actually, on somewhat of a somber note, the community lost Mr. Cash, and we have not really had a meeting here to discuss it. Our meeting was before he passed away, and I'm sure that if you do not know, he was heavily involved in everywhere he could be in emergency services. He coordinated with Red Cross. He did anything and everything that he could for this community, Reads Across America. I'm not going to sit here and list everything because it would take a very long time, and Mr. Rajaratnam, I believe you presented him with the key to the city. And so a lot of that was listed there. I just want to make sure that if you do not know, it was a loss to the community.
Services.
The 31st.
Yeah. I should say.
The service is 31st, but I figure people will figure that out on their own, and it's not for me to put out. But I figured people would want to know about his passing. And that is all. I appreciate the meeting. It was a good first meeting. Happy New Year. Lots going on in the globe.
All right, so I will try and wrap this up. Though this is my first real full meeting, so I've really enjoyed this. I assume this is how long all of them take, right?
No.
At least.
No. It's a joke.
At least.
It's a joke. This went quickly? Is that because we limited other Travis? Okay. Yeah, all right. So what I want to talk about, and I brought it up before, probably wasn't the right time to do it, but mental health is a huge issue for me, especially in this current time period, right? The holidays, where we were with family, or maybe those that were without family. So it becomes a very hard time to cope. But it leads to my first point. We need to continue mingling with each other. That's outside of work. Get off of Facebook, get off of social media, go and talk to people, find people that you disagree with, and actually have a conversation with them. Heck, find someone that you agree with and have a conversation with them. We all tend to live in our own tiny bubbles, and it's destructive for the way that we are as human beings. Yeah, that gets into my second point. I'm not going to comment on everything that I'm tagged on Facebook. I don't have that kind of time. Yeah, if you have something, please email me, please call. I love talking to people, but yeah, not going to do that. I've learned from my predecessor. Lastly, Notre Dame is in the college football championship, and I will be rooting them on. I don't have high hopes for them, unfortunately. Ohio State looks like a behemoth. Yeah. I still got to believe. I'm just hoping it's better than the 2012 when we just got annihilated by Alabama. Yeah, that's what we need. He was offside, I get it. And then lastly, my number one love in this life, other than my wife and my kids, and I have to say that contractually, is the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, man. So I've missed family events so that I could continue watching the Philadelphia Eagles. My family knows. It's an addiction at this point. Like, you're going to watch them lose to the Rams? I will not. I will be wearing my Saquon Barkley jersey, loud and proud. So that's all I have to say. Thank you all for coming out. I know that this was long. I know that it was arduous. I apparently need to bring more than one water bottle, but that's it. And so do I get a? You may. Oh, all right. Meeting adjourned at 9:22. There we go.
I've been here 2 years, never seen that.